Apocalypse. I can obtain infinite upgrades by drawing cards. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1 Global Battlefield. Congratulations, Blue Star people, your planet has been selected as the global battlefield. There are 42 hours, 17 minutes and 56 seconds until the multiverse civilizations land. There are 2 hours, 17 minutes and 56 seconds until the global talents of Blue Star life forms awaken. Lin Qun blinked once, and the 3 rows of text projected on his retina did not disappear, but the countdown changed from 56 seconds to 55 seconds. Then he squeezed forward in the crowded crowd, and no matter which direction he moved his body or sight in the crowd, the text moved with his vision. And the same text and countdown not only exist in Lin Qun's eyes, everyone on Blue Star can see these words, announcing to everyone that great changes and disasters are coming. It is 10 o'clock in the morning, but the sunlight above is blocked by dark clouds, and the world is slightly dim. The largest supermarket in front of the entrance of Langcheng Daijing community is crowded with people, all of whom are here to buy supplies. Don't cut in line. I have money. Give me supplies. Give me supplies. Damn it, beat you, you queue cutting dog. Several people in the corner were cursing and fighting with dissatisfaction, and Lin Qun took this opportunity to squeeze to the front. In my memory, it was only this crowded when I went to the most popular tourist attractions during holidays. The owner of the supermarket blocked the entrance of the supermarket with tables and chairs. If you want something, tell him and he will take it. Customers who squeeze to the front just need to pay. I want a box of canned food, 3 boxes of bread or biscuits, a box of mineral water, a box of milk, and other chocolates or high-calorie foods. You can take whatever you like. This is the limit of the supplies that Lin Qun can take away. If he takes more, he will not be able to squeeze out of the crowd with those things. The goatee boss shook his head and said, the canned food and milk are all sold out. I can only give you a box of bread and a box of mineral water. There are only 2 versions of chocolate. If you want them, I will give them all. These things are 22,000 in total. If you want them, I will give them to you. Hearing this price, Lin Qun was stunned. 22,000 for such a small amount of things? Is this shopping or robbery? Before he could come to his senses, the people behind him had already started to push and shove. The one in front, do you want to buy or not? If not, get out of the way. The boss said impatiently, do you want to buy or not? If not, get out of the way. There are plenty of people who want to buy. Lin Qun glanced at the supermarket behind the boss. It took him nearly an hour to squeeze to the front, and most of the shelves in the supermarket were empty. I want it. I see there are still Niaojiang pickled mustard on that shelf. Give me a box. Add a box of pickled mustard for 28,000 yuan. A box of pickled mustard for 5,000 yuan. Lin Qun never dreamed that he would buy such expensive pickled mustard, but he still gritted his teeth and quickly transferred out his fixed deposit to pay the boss, and got out of the crowd with the pitiful things. The people behind him envied him, but all looked at him with envy. Some even wanted to reach out to take his chocolate, but Lin Qun spotted them in time and glared at them. Don't touch my things. Lin Qun spoke harshly, and the man was startled and quickly got into the crowd and disappeared. The property management staff of the community did not come to work. There was also a lot of commotion and sirens in the city streets outside. There were cars and people everywhere. On this weekday, few people went to work. Everyone went straight to the mall and pharmacy to desperately buy various supplies. This inexplicable countdown appeared from the 48 hours. It has been nearly 6 hours since it appeared, and the panic has begun. The official has not yet made a statement, only asking people to stay at home as much as possible, but most people have run out to buy supplies, and the argument that the end of the world is coming has exploded on the internet. Fortunately, before the situation has changed completely, the order has not completely collapsed. Although there is despair on the internet, no one knows whether the situation will develop in this way. Therefore, except for a few people, most people still maintain the minimum order. If the end of the world does not come, wouldn't they be dumbfounded? Squeezing out of the crowd with difficulty, Lin Qun heard a louder commotion behind him, as if everything in the supermarket was sold out. Lin Qun heard a pretty girl who had also grabbed some supplies say, "This boss is crazy about money. He wants money more than his life. He doesn't keep all these supplies for himself. When the global battlefield starts and the world ends, money will probably be worthless. Who knows? What if we are all wrong and this is just a joke? He will make a fortune." Lin Qun hurried past. The supplies in the supermarket were sold out, and the eyes of the people around who didn't have supplies gradually changed and became red and hot when they looked at the people who had supplies. Lin Qun didn't dare to stay and attract attention. He quickened his pace, turned into the community, and returned to his small home on the 7th floor of building number 5, which was less than 30 square meters. He put down the things in his hands and closed the door, and then he felt relieved. There was still a faint commotion downstairs, as if someone really had a fight, and someone was shouting at the door of several other supermarkets in the community. But the doors of those supermarkets were closed, and they had no intention of selling their stocks. Lin Qun put away the supplies, plus the ones he already had at home. He didn't have much supplies, and if he didn't replenish them, he could only last for 2 weeks at most. There were enough medicines. This was because Lin Qun went to buy medicine before buying supplies, and therefore, he delayed the time to buy supplies. However, Lin Qun estimated that, even if the supermarket still had a lot of supplies, he could not afford so many things. Then he sat on the sofa, rubbing his head, a little depressed. He was a time traveler who had just come here a few days ago. This world, called Blue Star, has a geographical structure that is almost the same as the Earth that Lin Qun is familiar with, but there are not many countries in this world. After the end of World War II, the world was unified to form a federal system. The person he traveled to was 27 years old and lived alone in the most prosperous magic city in the Federation Huaxia region. His parents died early, and he didn't even have many relatives and friends. With his own efforts, he bought a small house of more than 30 square meters in the Dragon City Daijing community in the Magic City. He didn't do very well, but he could be seen as a good person. Thinking back to these, Lin Qun had an indescribable feeling in his heart. He had just accepted his new identity and new life in the past 2 days. He thought he was just living in a different world, but who would have thought that this was the situation here? He didn't know why he traveled through time, and he couldn't predict what would happen next. He had done everything he could do, and all he could do was wait. Wait. 2 hours later, 7 billion people around the world on Blue Star awakened their talents. He turned on his phone and looked through various WeChat groups and major platforms, not only to see if he could find any useful information, but also to kill time. Various information and speculations on the internet had already exploded. The federal officials had no clear statement, but only reminded everyone not to do illegal acts and stay at home as much as possible. In addition, there were a lot of experts who refuted the rumors. A large number of police forces and staff on the streets were trying their best to maintain order. Just when the countdown reached 40 hours, the bottom row of the 3 rows of text in his eyes suddenly disappeared, and then more text was printed on the retina, appearing and disappearing in rows. The same situation appeared in the eyes of everyone in the world. For a moment, the entire turbulent world and the information exploding network were quiet, and everyone looked at the changes in their eyes, staring intently. Everyone understood that this information might be related to their lives. The global battlefield is about to begin. As natives of Blue Star and participants, you will have the opportunity to awaken your talents. Each Blue Star person will open the attribute panel, which can be projected directly on your retina by voice control. Each of you will also obtain an awakening talent according to your own characteristics and related attributes. Awakening talents are random, and talents are divided into 7 levels. Fedicbus. F is the weakest and S is the highest. May your God bless you. After these words were finished, the network, which had just been calm, exploded again in an instant. Sure enough, it is a global battlefield and a war of civilizations. The civilizations of other worlds are coming, and the end of the world is coming. The strength of the awakening talent will determine whether we can survive in the future global war. Oh my god, according to my own characteristics and related attributes I can't even carry rice. So wouldn't the awakening talent be the worst? At this time, the federal officials finally released the news, and the information was swiped across major platforms. All citizens of the Federation, please stay in a safe place and prepare to awaken your talent. Our civilization is about to undergo a huge change. The Federation will do its best to protect everyone. I hope you can stay calm and actively cooperate. Don't act blindly. Please trust the federal government. Everything is still under control. Lin Qun no longer had time to read the following information because there was a sudden bang in his brain, like a thunderclap, and his head hurt violently for a moment. A new row of text refreshed in front of his eyes. Congratulations, you have successfully awakened your talent, and your personal panel is being generated. Then, a panel suddenly appeared in front of him. Name, Lin Qun. Level 1, 0 hundredths, Strength. 7 Agility. 6 Constitution. 7 Stamina. 12 Reminder, the standard values of all the above data for ordinary people are 10, Talent, Card Draw Bonus Ability. Type, Transmigrator Talent Unique, Talent Ability Rating, Super S Level. Talent Ability Level, First Level. Description, after testing, you are an individual from another world and civilization, and you are also the only participant in that civilization. You will receive a special bonus, and you can obtain technological weapons, physical materials, fantasy skills, and attribute bonuses from your world by drawing cards. Current number of card draws remaining. 1. His identity as a traverser was actually recognized. Moreover, he was identified as the only participant in this blue planet from the world before the traversal. The awakened talent was even given a special bonus, which was a Super S level talent that was not even mentioned in the previous prompts. Top talent. Fantasy skills from various movies and animations, materials from another world, and technological weapons can all be drawn. If it weren't for the Traverser talent bonus, with his almost completely below average attributes, he would probably have to awaken the worst death level skill. Lin Qun took a deep breath. He knew that he couldn't rely on his basic attributes. If he wanted to survive in this world, he had to rely on his Super S level ability. The new book is launched, and I hope that everyone can collect and vote for it. Moreover, it is very important to follow the book on Kidian now, which directly determines whether the book can get more recommendations. I hope that everyone can continue to follow the book and support it. Liangcha will be very grateful. Chapter 2 First Card Draw. Blue Star, Federation Calendar Year 177, June 15th. Magic City. 39 hours, 51 minutes, 22 seconds until the multiverse civilizations land. The countdown continued slowly, and all the online platforms were already in an uproar, with people everywhere talking about the newly awakened talents. In less than 9 minutes, someone uploaded a video. Lin Qun saw a 5-second video in which a man broke open the iron bars of his window with his bare hands. The thing was as fragile as 2 bamboo chopsticks in his palm. In another video, there was a group of thugs. In the 12-second video, they rushed to the street. The leader had fire in his hands and burned the rolling door of a supermarket in front of him while howling excitedly. Hahaha, I have a C-level talent for fire control. Damn it, hand over all the supplies to me. I'm a superpower. I don't care what the hell you guys do. The next second, there was a bang of a gunshot, and his head suddenly exploded. There was a scream, and the sirens quickly approached, and the picture stopped abruptly. Lin Qun browsed the internet. There are still many people who have announced their talents. He found that the talents of F level and E level were basically very weak, usually partial body bonuses, or even seemingly insignificant vision and hearing bonuses, while D level and C level were comprehensive physical fitness and strength bonuses, and even some incredible fire and water control abilities. For higher levels, fewer people disclosed their talents, and the information was very limited. But Lin Qun speculated, based on his own situation. He estimated that the higher the level, the more powerful the ability. The low-level talents were physical changes, the higher-level ones were superpowers, and the higher-level ones should be various top-level superpowers and conceptual superpowers. During this period, WeChat also had constant messages. People were talking in the work group, university group, and community group, either talking about their own situation or asking others. In the unit group, the former leader was particularly humble today and took the initiative to send a voice. Colleagues, I have only awakened the F level talent. Who of you has awakened talents above D level? The implication was very obvious, and he also wanted to find a thigh. Unfortunately, this leader used to be very oppressive to everyone. Unpaid overtime was common. He never gave leave to anyone who really had something wrong at home. Some people even missed the last time they saw their families because of this. At this time, even those who usually liked to flatter were silent. Usually, you are treated like a bird for your livelihood and work, not because you really deserve respect. In the community group, where Lin Qun was, the news was flying all over the place. Has anyone awakened successfully? I've awakened an F level talent. Am I doomed? Awakened. I have a D level talent. Strength bonus. Strength bonus. Brother, what D level talent do you have? Which building are you from? Can I go find you? It seems that everyone's awakened talents are generally E, F, and D. It seems that only 1 in 1,000 can be above C level, and B level and A level are even rarer. I'm curious, are there really S level talents? I'm the head of building number 3. Has everyone awakened? The higher ups require that everyone report their awakening abilities to me, so that I can coordinate them in a unified manner. In Lin Qun's building number 5 WeChat group, the head of the building, Fan Wenchun, sent a message saying that he had found someone who had awakened a B level talent to protect everyone, and asked everyone to send him their abilities privately. She wanted to organize people. Some people excitedly talked about their abilities everywhere, while others just watched coldly and remained silent. Lin Qun is one of them. The situation is uncertain now, and it is not known what the situation is. It is unwise to rashly reveal his ability, and he has no intention of joining in the fun. From the current situation, below level D, almost all of them are conventional physical bonuses, and above level D, they are all kinds of strange superpowers. The higher the awakening talent, the stronger it can be predicted that they will be, and they will have a better chance of survival in the future global battlefield. Of course, that is the future. Lin Qun noticed that individuals have levels, and talents also have levels. For example, his current card drawing ability is the first level, and the same should be true for others. They also need to be upgraded to become powerful, not invincible by obtaining superpowers. This is the case with the C-level awakener in the short video. Although it can spit fire, it can't withstand a shot. If you get carried away by gaining abilities, you are either a fool or a fool. Lin Qun took a deep breath. The person he traveled through time to was also a very difficult person. He had been working hard to make money and had few friends. At this time, there was no one to ask about his well-being. There was a blind date on WeChat. He met her 2 days before traveling through time. She was a beautiful woman in his memory, but he had not gotten to know her well. The other party only sent a message and went straight to the point. Lin Qun, do you have extra supplies and medicine? Lin Qun glanced at it and did not reply. He silently sorted out the information he had. From the existing information, his talent was definitely the most special. It was Super S level, and it was closely related to his identity as a traveler. These were his biggest secrets and he must not tell anyone else. Moreover, even if it was Super S level, he had to improve it, improve his personal level, improve his talent level, and play a real role. This would be his trump card for survival. The countdown was not over yet, and there was still some time before the global battlefield opened. After a moment, Lin Qun came back to his senses, took a deep breath, activated his ability, used his talent ability, and started the first card draw. The use of his ability was a very strange feeling. It was as if an electric current passed through his head, and the so-called card draw seemed to be carried out in his brain. But he finished drawing the card very quickly, and the personal interface in front of him suddenly began to change. A card slowly emerged. On it was a beautiful woman with 3-dimensional facial features and an obvious mixed race feeling. She was dressed in a tight outfit, giving people a sense of being capable and shrewd. The moment he saw her, Lin Qun's eyes suddenly shrank. If he remembered correctly, isn't this the headshot girl Newman in the Black Robe Patrol? Exclamation mark. As expected, the text below the card read, Name, bang type, skill card, inherent, description. Use this skill card to obtain the superpowers of Victoria Newman, the headshot girl in the Black Robe Patrol. Hint, load this skill card to get a little physical bonus. In the Black Robe Patrol, the headshot girl Newman hid very deeply. Her ability was not the strongest, but it was extremely vicious. She hid in the corner and directly blew up the opponent's head or body with a glance. Moreover, it was difficult to find out who did it with this ability. It was not only an ability with a strong plasma effect, but also a trick of an old cunning man. The first time he drew a card, he actually drew a fantasy skill. Others may only awaken one innate superpower, but Lin Qun's ability to draw cards means that he can have countless superpowers. Thinking of the rich fantasy abilities in the world he came from, Lin Qun was a little excited. Not only that, loading this card can actually give him a little physical bonus. He took a deep breath and chose to load the ability without hesitation. Soon, he noticed that his attribute panel had changed. Chapter 3 Early Landing. Name, Lin Qun. Level 1, 0/100, Strength 7 Agility 6 Constitution 8 Stamina 12/12. Reminder, the standard values of all the above data for ordinary people are 10. Talent, card draw bonus ability, current number of card draws remaining. 0 skills, 1. Bang skill level, level 1, within a radius of 10 meters with the self as the center, gaze at the target, and use this skill to destroy any part of the carbon-based life body, the current upper limit of the target's constitution, that can be directly blasted. 16. When using this skill on an enemy with a constitution exceeding this value, the effect will decrease. This skill is in line with the setting of the headshot woman in the black robe using this skill. There is a certain pre-swing, the need to gaze and a certain range. Moreover, not everyone can headshot. In the original drama, this ability is almost a one-shot kill for ordinary people, but the effect will be greatly discounted for other superhumans with extraordinary constitutions. However, this skill is presented in a more detailed manner through the personal panel. Can the target that can be killed instantly be within twice of my physique? Lin Qun pondered. Improving one's own physique attributes may directly improve the lethality of this skill. However, normally speaking, with a physique of 10 as the standard, a physique of 16 is already inhuman, right? And from this point of view, the skills obtained by drawing cards can also be upgraded. At present, this skill is at the first level. However, whether it is a skill upgrade method, a level upgrade method in the personal panel, or even a talent skill upgrade method, there is no method yet. Lin Qun looked at the posts on the internet. Some netizens analyzed that this may be because the global battlefield has not officially started, so everyone naturally cannot upgrade. Now it is like a warm-up stage of a game. Everyone needs to understand what abilities they have first. As for upgrading and completing the main task, they have to wait until the game officially starts. It seems that how to get more card draws will also be known after the battlefield is opened. Lin Qun guessed. During this period of time, the riots outside expanded for a while, and now it has quieted down again. Perhaps it was the few gunshots from the city just now that made people quiet down. The internet is getting more lively. The D-level awakener was named Yang Lin. He said directly in the community group, "Don't worry, I used to be a gym coach, and now I'm a D-level master. If something really happens, I will be the first to stand up and protect everyone's safety. But I don't have much supplies. I wonder who is willing to sell me some?" Now everyone is holding on to the resources tightly, and other ordinary people in the group are ignored. As soon as Yang Lin opened his mouth, a girl immediately said, "I have some here, brother. Can I take the supplies directly with me?" She also posted a selfie with a hot body and pure looks. Lin Qun just watched coldly. It was already past noon at this time. Lin Qun stood up. There were still some vegetables at home, which he bought 2 days ago. These vegetables could not be kept, so he cooked and ate them first. After dinner, Lin Qun sat in front of the computer and went online to cram various doomsday survival knowledge, first aid knowledge, wild vegetable identification and other skills that might be useful to arm himself as much as possible. Although he was a time traveler, he was just an ordinary person. In fact, He was as panicked and uneasy as others, but he had one advantage, which was that he could force himself to calm down and use the limited time to do things that might play a role in the future. He wanted to survive. The countdown appeared, the talent awakened, and brought great changes to the world, but things like the internet, water, and electricity were still supplied. It was just that when it was 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the voltage was still unstable, and the network was disconnected most of the time. Coming to the window, Lin Qun looked, and saw police patrolling far and near. I don't know about other places, but the public security here is still under control. Not only that, a lot of anxious people gathered downstairs in the community, in groups of 3 or 2. Some people felt that there were more people, and they felt safe, while others were looking for information everywhere, hoping to know as much as possible about what would happen next. Seeing this, Lin Qun's heart moved. Now it was still safe downstairs. Maybe he could go downstairs to test his ability. Although he had acquired the ability, he didn't know how to apply it specifically. After all, the ability he extracted required living things to use, and in the rental house within a range of 10 meters, Lin Qun had never seen even a bug. As for houseplants, as a golden bachelor, how could Lin Qun have such things at home? He walked downstairs slowly, and saw the building manager Fan Wenshun downstairs. He really gathered a lot of residents in building number 5, and formed a small group centered on him, following his lead. Even residents of other buildings took the initiative to hug the thighs. Lin Qun did not approach, but turned to other locations. There was no chaos in the community, but the city was obviously not peaceful. Lin Qun could hear the sirens and some chaotic sounds on the streets outside. Some places were calm before the storm, while others were already in chaos. Lin Qun began to test how to activate his ability. He was not so crazy. He did not really want to blow the heads of innocent passers-by. He just wanted to see how his ability worked. He focused his attention on a young man in the corner who boasted that he was an E-level talent. He then had a sense of perception in his mind. It seemed that, as long as he wanted, he could blow the head of the young man who was surrounded by a group of people and boasted about himself. And the other party was unaware. This meant that the other party's physical fitness was not 16 points. Lin Qun's heart moved. This magical perception was very interesting. He did not blow the head, but he could use this perception to peek into the approximate value of other people's physical fitness, and others seemed to be unable to detect it. His skill was really a fixed point headshot and death stare, hidden and killing people invisibly. Why not see if there are any masters with high physical fitness in this community? Lin Qun was curious and did what he thought. He walked slowly in the community, pretending to be as panicked as everyone else. He scanned the crowd and found that his ability could almost blow up anyone downstairs in the head. Few people have a physical fitness of 16 points. Suddenly, Lin Qun paused because he noticed a tall, capable and beautiful woman who hurriedly passed by on the other side with a physical fitness of more than 16 points. His perception told him that his skills could not blow up this person's head. At most he could blow a bloody hole in the other party. What surprised Lin Qun even more was that the woman was walking hurriedly towards building number 2 opposite, and at this moment, as if she suddenly noticed something, she stopped suddenly and looked over here like lightning. However, when she looked over, Lin Qun had disappeared silently in the crowd. The other party could sense his gaze, and his physical fitness was more than 16 points, so he must be a master. Lin Qun remembered the woman, but at this time, he was stopped by Fan Wenshun. I remember you. You are also from our building. Fan Wenshun said, are you interested in joining us? You are definitely not as safe as a group of us. It seems that your talent level is not high, right? Otherwise, you would not be wandering around downstairs looking for opportunities. Most of the people wandering around downstairs now are low-level talent awakeners who want to gather together for warmth. The high-level ones are not afraid at all, and don't need to go downstairs to look for opportunities. Am I right? Lin Qun shook his head. Let me think about it. Fan Wenshun just smiled. I believe you will make the right choice. In his opinion, an ordinary young man like Lin Qun, who has no ability and no talent, would be stupid to refuse him. Therefore, Fan Wenshun did not persuade him much. In his opinion, it was Lin Qun's own loss if he refused. But Lin Qun did not really go upstairs. On the contrary, he turned to a hidden location in the corner flower bed. Lin Qun came down once, not only to master how to apply his ability, but also to verify its power. Only by understanding how much ability he has, can he use his ability well when needed in the future. Killing innocent people indiscriminately is bastard, but it is not too much to use it on flowers and plants, right? Looking at the flower bed, Lin Qun was about to activate his ability, but before he moved, he heard a loud noise that shook the earth. The ground was shaking, and the people around him shouted. Lin Qun was stunned. I haven't used my power yet, but it's so powerful. But he quickly realized that it was not him, because people from far and near shouted, and the loud noise continued after the first sound. The army is entering the city. The army is entering the city! Exclamation mark. I don't know who started it, but panic spread for no reason, and the residents downstairs began to run into the building in a swarm. The federal army has entered the city? Lin Qun was still thinking, and suddenly his face changed, because at this moment the weird countdown text in front of him suddenly changed. Rows of new text emerged. Dear Blue Star people, now broadcasting an announcement. One of the participating civilizations, Bastion civilization, used 1 million contribution points to purchase and use the priority landing rights in this global battlefield. Bastion civilization will enter the battlefield in advance from now on. Other civilizations will still enter after the countdown ends. The Blue Star global battlefield has entered the war stage in advance. All Blue Star indigenous participants, please be prepared for battle. Landing in advance. Lin Qun looked up in horror and saw an extremely terrifying crack in the sky. A giant sailing ship that was more than 1,000 meters long slowly sailed out of it. This book has been successfully signed. Please collect it, please vote for it, and please support it in various ways. Chapter 4 Headshot. In the dim sky, a huge space crack spread all the way to the end of the vision. It was a giant flying object that had never been seen on Earth. At first glance, it looked like a sailboat, but it was extremely huge, and the steel was cold, emerging from the sky, and there was more than one. Lin Qun stood on the ground and looked far away. He could see that the whole sky was flickering. Across the sky of the magic city, a large number of giant sailboats emerged. Further away, explosions sounded one after another, and the flames formed a line at the end of the vision. There were dull noises everywhere. Nearby, Longcheng Daijing community was in chaos, and the people who had just gathered downstairs retreated in panic. They are coming. It's a war. It's an invasion of civilization. Run. Run. Fan Wenchuan and others were also retreating. He also pulled out the B-level talent awakener he invited and asked him to protect everyone. Look. There's a ship coming towards us. Lin Qun was also retreating. The army came, but the army did not come to Longcheng Daijing community. They only have a few patrolling police here. From the giant sailing spaceship above their heads, dense silver landing craft flew out at this time, raining down on the ground like raindrops, covering the entire area. One of them was heading in their direction, and more words were emerging in front of Lin Qun's eyes. The Bastion civilization has achieved priority landing, and its landing area is Magic City, San Diego. The above areas have been locked. What does regional lock mean? Lin Qun didn't know, and he didn't have time to think about it, because the text projected on the retina, which had not moved much in the past few hours, was scrolling densely at this moment, and more information appeared. One of the participating civilizations, the Uran civilization, used 1 million contribution points to purchase and use the priority landing rights of this global battlefield. One of the participating civilizations, a large number of civilizations, spent millions of contribution points to land in advance. The army had just entered the city, but the legion from another civilization had already covered the entire magic city. They came prepared. They were already prepared. The landing craft was extremely fast, but it did not land, but only flew low over the sky opposite the Dragon City Daijing community. It was not big, nor did it carry any weapons. It flew low, and 5 heavy figures fell directly from above. Those were the Bastions. Their appearance was extremely strange, and they were over 2 meters tall, like a combination of spiders and humans. The lower part was a spider-like body structure, and the humanoid body stood upright. Each of them wore a mask on their face and held an enlarged version of a rifle in their hands. As soon as they landed, they dispersed and fired wildly around. Those were hot weapons similar to those used by humans. Several police officers nearby tried to stop them, but they were knocked down in an instant. And they were extremely fast, scattered and moving at high speed. Humans were like ants in front of them, and were slaughtered crazily. Under their masks, they let out excited howls similar to laughter. They seemed to enjoy this scene immensely. On Lin Qun's side, everyone's face changed horribly, and they all retreated crying. Even if they had the ability to awaken, few people would think of using it. In the face of blood and death, there was only boundless panic. One of the bastion life forms even went straight to the downstairs of building number 7 where Lin Qun and his group were. The group of people led by Lin Qun, who had just been united, were all panicked when the disaster struck. None of them listened to Lin Qun's command and blocked the entrance of the building. They squeezed each other and no one could get in. They even squeezed Lin Qun, who they had just been trying to curry favor with, out. Lin Qun's face turned pale. He desperately pulled a young man in black clothes beside him and said desperately, "You are a B-level talent awakener. Go ahead and kill them. I will give you all the supplies you want. Go ahead." Seeing this scene, Lin Qun also hid behind the flower bed, relying on this hidden corner to cover his figure, and dared not make a sound. Because the bastion life form had already slaughtered crazily, the few old men and women who ran slowly behind were shot to death one by one. Among them were many familiar faces to Lin Qun, all of whom were old people who used to take a walk downstairs. They even took the initiative to greet Lin Qun. But now, at this moment, someone finally stood up. It was the awakener who had just boasted about his E-level talent. He found a steel bar from somewhere and roared, "Damn it, why are you all running? There are so many of us, and everyone has talent. Are you afraid of this bastard? In the war of civilizations, everyone is a warrior, and I have an E-level talent." When he spoke here, many smart people were not completely fooled by the panic atmosphere. They stood still and obviously planned to give it a try. Longcheng community is very large and there are many residents. The 5 monsters were scattered, and almost all of them were alone at this time. Instead of waiting to be shot and slaughtered, it seems to be a wise choice to attack in groups. There are many of them. Lin Qun's pupils also shrank. He also planned to attack in groups. Running away is not a solution. Only by killing as many people as possible can there be a chance of survival. But the creature of the bastion civilization was not within 10 meters of his position, so his skills could not be activated. He was weak and could not be the first to go. Otherwise, he might be shot to death before he got close. His skill was a dirty trick, waiting for others to attract the monster's attention first. The E-class was the first to attack, and he was also smart. He didn't act blindly. He found an opportunity for the other party to change bullets, and rushed directly to the monster. However, the creature of the bastion civilization saw him rushing towards him, and directly threw away the weapon in his hand, grabbed the steel bar in the young man's hand with his backhand, and then stretched out his other hand. The power of the two sides seemed to be very different. No matter how hard the E-class tried, he couldn't break free. So, in his horrifying screams and the horrified eyes of everyone, the E-class was torn in half alive. Blood splattered, and internal organs were scattered all over the ground. The grim smile and howl of the bastion civilization became the craziest shadow in everyone's eyes. Everyone showed a look of fear at that moment and retreated desperately. The bastion civilization seemed to enjoy the slaughter and fear immensely. It strode forward, and even stopped using firearms. Its strength and physique far exceeded that of humans, and it could tear humans apart alive with its bare hands. Even if those E-level and F-level talent awakeners wanted to resist, they were no match at all. Even if everyone had talent, most of them had low-level talent, and there were no real combatants here, only ordinary people. Talent alone was useless. On the ground, blood flowed like a river, and the screams of panic had completely torn apart the tranquility of the Longcheng community. In the building opposite, the fitness man who had previously boasted about his D-level ability in the WeChat group was standing in front of the window holding the innocent girl, staring at the scene downstairs. The woman in his arms whispered, "Brother, this monster is too scary. You will protect me, right? It is not your opponent, right?" "Yes, it is not my opponent. If I were downstairs, I would have killed it long ago." But we don't need to care about the lives of these people below. The strong man swallowed hard, and while speaking, he hugged the woman, and retreated step by step, retreating into the shadows, and retreating to a position where the monster could never see him. At this moment, the target of the bastion creature was exactly the direction where Lin Qun was, the position of Fan Wenchuan and others. Because there were too many people blocking here at the moment, it was an excellent target. Fan Wenchuan was pale. He and the people around him desperately pushed out the young man in black who seemed to be a B-level awakener. He has become the hope of everyone here. The young man in black did not seem to be as reliable as they thought. As soon as he was pushed out, he only took a look at the bloody bastion civilization life, and his heart and gallbladder broke, and he wanted to run away. What a joke, this kind of monster, can he fight against it? Tear a living person apart with bare hands. Run, must run. The young man in black turned his head and wanted to escape, but his legs were weak, and he almost slid to the ground. He was dumbfounded. Panic was boiling. This was instinct. He almost shouted out, "It's dead, it's dead." But what they didn't know was that in the blind corner of the flower bed, that they didn't notice, there was also a person squatting behind the flower bed, staring at the monster intently, as nervous as they were. It was Lin Qun. The 10-meter distance had already entered. The bastion civilization creature was parallel to the flower bed, and the straight line distance from Lin Qun was less than 5 meters, but it didn't notice Lin Qun. Activate perception prediction. Lin Qun was worried that the physical fitness of this bastion civilization creature exceeded 16 points. The result of the feedback was, it can be headshot. Its physical fitness is less than 16 points. At that moment, Lin Qun's heart seemed to slow down by half a beat. He endured the discomfort brought by the bloody smell around him, and directly activated the skill. Lock. Activate. It all depends on this. Chapter 5 Battlefield Ranking opens. The feeling of a headshot is very strange. Lin Qun felt as if something was pulled out of his head in an instant. Then there was a dizziness and trance in front of his eyes. But the effect was terrifying. The creature of the bastion civilization was still grinning a second ago, but the next second, its head was blown to pieces. Like a watermelon put in a microwave. With a bang. In front of everyone. The blood plasma exploded. Its huge body shook, and fell to the ground with a bang. It fell in front of Fan Wenchuan and others. Because the distance was too close, the splashing blood even splashed on the face of the young man in black. At that moment, there was a moment of deathly silence in the field. Then there were exclamations and ecstasy. Fan Wenchuan said, "Dead. Dead. It's worthy of being a B-level. Awesome. Awesome." Others followed suit. Obviously, in their view, the death of this bastion civilization creature was the credit of the B-level talent awakener they invited. Because this is the only explanation. Just at that moment, only the B-level was in the front. But what they didn't know was, the young man in black was also confused. The bastion civilization creature approached. He was so scared that he couldn't even run. How could he fight? Although he was B-level, Fan Wenchuan and others didn't know his specific ability. The innate ability he awakened was auxiliary, called Holy Light Summoning, which could illuminate and heal injuries. In a low-level state, this ability had no lethality at all. He didn't even know why such a weak ability was B-level. He had to use his ability to cheat and think about forming a group first. When Fan Wenchuan found him, he didn't think much about it. Who would have thought that such a scene would appear soon? Therefore, the young man in black was sure he didn't kill this monster. But, who is it? Who is so awesome? He can't do anything with his B-level talent to this bastion civilization life. Who can do it? The young man in black swallowed hard, turned around under the pull of Fan Wenchuan, and looked at the people behind him, watching them look at him with respect, as if they were looking at a big boss. He thought to himself, the real big boss might be hiding among these people. Who is it? Who is it? He began to regret it a little now. Who knew there would be a global civilization war? Who knew that monsters would appear so quickly and so scary? What should I do? I'm now regarded as a big boss. Next time, won't I still be pushed out? The young man in black wanted to say that I'm not. But Fan Wenchuan had already rushed up excitedly, took the hand of the young man in black, raised it directly, and said, I found a B-level talent awakener to protect everyone. Come on, don't squeeze. Let's go into the building in an orderly manner. With brotherly here, we don't have to be afraid. This scene just now, and Fan Wenchuan's words gave everyone enough confidence. Panic was still spreading, but people were much calmer and began to go into the building in an orderly manner to avoid. Fan Wenchuan then whispered, "Brother, I won't let you protect us in vain. I will double the amount of protection money and materials I promised to give you before. I don't think anyone will object." Hearing these benefits, the young man in black swallowed hard, swallowed back the words he was about to say, and gritted his teeth and said, "Quick, let's hide in here first. There are 5 monsters coming. If we kill one of them, the rest will definitely come quickly." In fact, Lin Qun also had the same idea at this moment. He was standing up from behind the flower bed and looking anxiously into the distance. The other monsters should come soon. We have to hide in the building first. However, he was much calmer at this time. His skills can be used. They can kill these Bakatan civilization creatures. What he has to do is to hide himself deeply. Only in this way can he secretly snipe and minimize his risk. The scene of the crazy massacre just now made Lin Qun feel cold in his heart. He had no idea now, so he could only hide and survive. However, he found that as he used a skill, the value of his energy column actually changed. Energy 10/12. Using the headshot girl skill once requires 2 energy points. No wonder I feel dazed. It turns out that my energy has decreased. Not only that, Lin Qun found that the text in his eyes changed again. New text scrolled out. You have successfully killed an alien civilization creature and obtained +1 civilization contribution point and +50 experience points. You have unlocked the civilization contribution point. You have unlocked the upgrade system. 10 civilization contribution points can be used to draw a skill card. 100 civilization contribution points can upgrade your current talent skill to level 2. Accumulate enough civilization contribution points to unlock civilization technology or exchange for special civilization permissions. Note, every time you kill an alien civilization creature in the global battlefield, you will immediately gain a civilization contribution point. Is this how you upgrade? Killing a Bakatan civilization creature also gained 50 experience points. Then, if you kill another one, Lin Qun's personal level can be upgraded to level 2. What changes will occur when your personal level is upgraded? There are also contribution points, which are extremely useful, but they can only be obtained by slaughtering alien civilization creatures. No wonder these civilizations are rushing to enter the battlefield in advance, and those people of the Bakatan civilization even landed directly without saying anything, and started killing directly. These local humans are just a group of walking contribution points for them. At this time, there are more Bakatan civilization creatures in the other 2 directions. This time there are 2. They have known the death of their companions, and are rushing over quickly. And this time, they are no longer arrogant. They are shooting wildly from a distance. Anyone who dares to show up among the buildings will be shot directly with a volley of bullets. Fortunately, in the moment just now, Fan Wenchuan and the young man in black also hid, and were all suppressed in the building. The 2 Bakatan civilization creatures are quickly approaching the body of the previous Bakatan civilization creature here. They are obviously much more cautious. Step by step, they are extremely surprised when they check the body. They didn't expect that the humans they slaughtered could kill their companions. Their technological level is only slightly better than that of humans, but their life form is higher, and everyone is a warrior. They slaughtered civilians and were killed by civilians. Fan Wenchuan and the young man in black were suppressed and couldn't even raise their heads. Lin Qun hid behind the flower bed, moving silently and slowly, wandering in the blind spot of vision. Seeing the effect of contribution points, he understood that they and the alien civilization were fighting to the death. These 2 Bakatan civilization lives must also be killed. While they didn't find him, they were completely attracted by Fan Wenchuan and others, and they found an angle to snipe directly. In the corridor, bullets hit the wall and splashed it, and a few unlucky ones were even shot through the wall and died. Fan Wenchuan and others were trembling with fear, and their eyes were all on the young man in black. "Brother, help. Brotherly, boss, go out and kill them, quickly, otherwise when they come in, we will all be dead." These people were very scared. The young man in black was the hope of all of them. But the young man in black was sweating coldly. Get out, get out. How could he have that ability? Wouldn't he be killed if he went out? These people were looking at him, but he was in a dilemma and his eyes were sweeping around the people around him. The big guy just now, come out quickly. If you don't come out, we will be dead when those two monsters come over. How could he know that the real big guy he was looking for was not here at all, but was hiding in the corner outside? The young man in black was panicking here and instinctively leaned out to take a look. His face turned pale with fear. Because the two Bastion civilization creatures also looked over. They all raised their guns. However, that was all. In just a second, the head of the Bastion civilization creature in the front exploded again like before. The young man in black blinked. Another Bastion life was shocked. It didn't see how its companion died at all, so it instinctively retreated and fired wildly. But it still aimed in the wrong direction. So, the next second, its head also exploded. Blood splattered. Lin Qun's energy dropped to 6, which was far below the normal line. He felt a blackness in front of his eyes and fell down behind the flower bed. The outside world seemed to become distant at this moment. He felt like an illusory sage who had continuously conducted 10 catheters. Although he had 12 points of energy, he must not use it to 0. Otherwise, he would definitely die. 12 points of energy. Use skills at most 5 times. Lin Qun gasped, but saw new text appearing on the interface in front of him. Battlefield ranking has been opened. Please set your battlefield ID. After the setting is completed, you can view and enter the ranking. Chapter 6 Upgrade. Level 2. Langcheng Daijing Community. Building number 1. The remaining two Bastion civilization beings all looked down at a device on their wrists. It showed that the vital signs of their 3 companions had all disappeared. One of the Bastion beings looked at his captain. There is no signal, no warning, and 3 of our companions were killed in a row. I'm afraid there are human masters in this community. The captain was very calm, and he was stepping on the body of a human woman. At this moment, he was trying hard to tear the woman's body apart, picked up a little girl who was desperately protecting her, and held her in his palm. With a click, blood plasma mixed with bone fragments flowed down from his palm. It looked at the scene cruelly and said in the unique language of Bastion, "It seems that we are lucky. That human master can kill 3 of us silently. The 2 of us may not be his opponent. Let's not move yet. Report to the headquarters immediately. We must take advantage of these stupid natives to grow up and annihilate all their potential individuals. Then we should avoid that direction and continue to slaughter. These humans are all contribution points. We must earn back the 1 million points spent on landing in advance." As it said, a terrible fierce light flashed in its pupils. This is a crazy night. The young man in black was surrounded by people and became a big boss by mistake. Just now, he looked out to check, and the 2 Bastions died suddenly. If it wasn't this young man in black who took action, who else could it be? An old lady even knelt down to the young man in black. The rest of the people also talked a lot and were very excited. Too strong. The people that Director Fan found are so powerful. I thought I was dead just now. Boss, you must protect us. Is that a B-level talent? How did he do it? They exploded after just one look. Oh, I don't know what happened to my family. Hide, hide. Some people desperately ran out to pick up the weapons of the Bastions, but as soon as those people picked up the weapons, the guns that were almost half a person's height made a rapid beeping sound and then exploded, blowing away the upper bodies of those people. Since then, no one dared to touch those trophies. Fan Wenchuan also wanted to go forward, but when he saw this scene, he instinctively took a step back. He turned his head and saw Lin Qun in the crowd. He still remembered Lin Qun's rejection of him. In his opinion, now the facts have proved that he was right. If he hadn't found the boss with the awakened B-level talent, they would probably all die here. Therefore, Fan Wenchuan stretched out his hand, stopped Lin Qun, and said, "I know you have bought the supplies. Do you want to share them and join us? You have seen how powerful the B-level masters I found are. Seeing the huge changes in the magic city, the military is still unknown. Now tying up this powerful B-level talent is the only choice to survive. And if you want to tie up the other party, you naturally have to take out the supplies. Fan Wenchuan is not trying to pull Lin Qun, but clearly wants to share Lin Qun's things. Lin Qun is in the 10 shots of sage time. His mind is not working well. How can he care about Fan Wenchuan? He glanced at him, squeezed through the crowd of young people in black, and went upstairs with weak steps. He was worried that the remaining 2 would also come to kill him. If he uses it twice more, he will reach his limit. He has to go upstairs quickly. It takes time to recover energy. As for currying favor with Fan Wenchuan, there is no need at all. The only thing that Lin Qun was a little surprised about was why all those people were gathered there. He didn't know that the credit for his killing 3 Bastion civilization creatures in a row was all attributed to others. But he didn't care, quickened his pace and hurried upstairs. His head was empty, his steps were weak, but his heart was beating non-stop. Seeing Lin Qun walking straight away, Fan Wenchuan frowned. A skinny man next to him who was trying to curry favor with him immediately said, "This guy looks so weak, I'm afraid he must be scared silly. Brother Fan, let's go upstairs." Fan Wenchuan also nodded, and found the young man in black who was still in a trance. "Lizing, hurry up, let's go upstairs." Lizing was the young man in black. He became the big boss surrounded by everyone, but only he knew that it was not him at all. He was deeply confused. Who was that? People were panicking. Everyone hid in the building, looking outside nervously. The community was already a river of blood. The dead were lying downstairs, and the living were just as terrified. The sound of gunfire and screams from far and near, and the terrifying giant sailing ships flying in the air, heralded the beginning of the end of the world. The global war has begun. Fan Wenchuan and others were crowded on the first and second floors, guarding Lizing like stars around the moon, fearing that they would be too far away. Lin Qun returned to his home, stayed for a while, drank a bottle of water, and ate a bowl of instant noodles, and then he felt a little better. His energy also increased with the recovery. From 6 to 8. Efficient rest and eating should accelerate the recovery of energy, but if you are always tense or active, your energy will probably not increase. I just don't know if there is a blue bottle or something like that. At this time, Lin Qun had time to study his gains. The first thing he opened was the personal panel. His data changed a little. In the personal level column, it became level 1, 150 hundredths. There was also a plus sign at the end. 1 Bastion civilization creature is 50 experience points, and 3 is 150. He has reached the standard for personal level improvement. Lin Qun pondered for a moment, then he moved his mind and clicked. Suddenly, Lin Qun felt as if he was hit by an electric current. His whole body was numb for a moment. Then, he could clearly feel that his body became lighter. Looking at the panel again, his attributes have changed. Name, Lin Qun level 2, 50 over 200, strength 8 agility 7 constitution 9 stamina 8 over 14. Hint, the standard value of all the above data for ordinary people is 10. Talent, card draw bonus ability, current number of card draws remaining. 0 skills, 1. Bang skill level, level 1, within a radius of 10 meters with the body as the center. Look at the target and use this skill to destroy any part of the carbon-based life body. Currently, the upper limit of the target's physical fitness that can be directly exploded. 18. When this skill is used on an enemy with a physical fitness exceeding this value, the effect will decrease. Strength, agility, and physical fitness have all increased a little. Of course, these slight improvements have not yet reached the horizontal line, and Lin Qun's perception is not obvious, but the biggest changes are undoubtedly energy and physical fitness. Physical fitness has increased a little. The upper limit of his headshot female skill that can be exploded has been directly increased, and the upper limit of energy has also increased. His energy is far beyond that of ordinary people. 14 points of energy. He can use the skill up to 6 times in a row without regard for his life. It is equivalent to having one more bullet than before. If the personal level can be improved all the way, as long as the physical fitness can continue to rise, this skill can even explode the head of a god. Thinking of this, Lin Qun's breathing slowed down by half a beat. This is definitely a magical skill. This is also the first skill he has drawn. By relying on the card drawing ability, God knows what will be drawn in the future. Personal level must be improved, skill level must also be improved. And the most important thing is to get more opportunities to draw cards. Others only have one ability, but this headshot female ability is only Lin Qun's first ability. Thinking of this, he calmed down and prepared to check the battle zone ranking system and the most important contribution points. Talent upgrades and more card draw opportunities all depend on contribution points. Chapter 7 Contribution Points Mall. The sky outside the window was bright and brilliant. Intensive explosions lit up the sky, accompanied by many giant sailboats landing first. At the far end of the city, their cluster seemed to be exchanging fire with the military, but unfortunately the distance was too far to see clearly. A large number of aircraft of various types followed closely behind, all carrying the life of the Bastion civilization, overwhelming and pouring into various locations in the Magic City. The number was extremely large. Are those all their warriors? Perhaps they were once civilians like the people in Longcheng Daijing community, but now they have become soldiers, and the tens of millions of humans in the human city under their feet are the real civilians. The so-called awakening of talents cannot make people live too long. The community fell silent. Lin Qun looked down from his floor. It was pitch black below, and no human figures could be seen or heard. The remaining two Bastions seemed to have disappeared. Those who were still alive hid as much as possible. There were not many buildings with supermasters like Leasing. Most people did not dare to speak, trembling with fear, praying that those terrible creatures would not appear outside their doors. Lin Qun was a little uneasy. There were quite a few voices in the corridor of his building. Fan Wenchuan and other survivors were undoubtedly more confident. Lin Qun took a deep breath, sat down in the corner again, and continued to check. The battlefield ranking system has been opened. You must confirm your ID before you can view and log in the data. Lin Qun pondered for a moment and did not use his real name, but used his ID that he often used in the game, Ying. Then, the battlefield ranking system was officially opened. With a thought, a new panel appeared in front of Lin Qun. There were 3 options on it, namely, global ranking, civilization ranking, and regional ranking. The global ranking was gray and could not be entered because the global battlefield had not been officially opened yet, and it was just a pre-login. Only the civilization ranking and regional ranking could be viewed. All displayed were personal rankings. Lin Qun pondered for a moment and first looked at the civilization ranking. It was a huge ranking that was constantly changing and scrolling, refreshing in real time. At this moment, in front of the ranking, there were all strange words that Lin Qun had never seen before, and behind it were notes in a language that Lin Qun could understand, with translations and markings of the regional locations. The ranking was based on contribution points. In this civilization ranking, the top ones are all alien civilizations. The top 10 alien civilizations have more than 10,000 civilization contribution points. This means that they have killed tens of thousands of aliens. And it goes without saying that those who were killed by them are definitely humans. The numbers that are constantly refreshing and rolling are all tens of thousands of fresh human lives. From the early landing to now, it has been less than 2 hours, and someone has killed so many people. Lin Qun looked at the top of the civilization ranking. It is a Bastion civilization creature translated as Bakali, and its location is actually in the Magic City. Lin Qun felt a chill in his heart for no reason. This is a terrible and crazy civilization battle. In this war, there is only a winner and a loser between civilizations. Killing each other and gaining contribution points is the only goal of all participants. Can I survive? Lin Qun doesn't know. The network has been interrupted. In the civilization ranking list, there is not a single human name in the first tens of thousands. Lin Qun exited with a heavy heart and clicked into the regional ranking. But entering the regional ranking is the same. In the Magic City area, there are 5 districts in the Magic City: East, West, South, North, and Center, and 6 detailed rankings, and humans are not even on the list. However, in the regional rankings, there is a ranking list that only shows one's own civilization. Lin Qun was a little curious and entered the East District, where his Dragon City Daijing community was located. Only then could he see the traces of humans. The one at the top was a person named King, who actually had 10 contribution points. Only by killing hostile civilization creatures can you get contribution points, which means that this person has killed 10 Bakatans. Is he a military man? Or a supermaster? Lin Qun pulled down the interface and found that he was also on the list, ranking 9th. Killing 3 people and ranking 9th. This situation doesn't look good. He knew that maybe some people haven't registered their IDs and are not displayed here, especially the military soldiers, who should have killed a lot of Bakatans. Despite this, it is not difficult to see that the current situation is not optimistic. Lin Qun also found an introduction to the rankings below. It turns out that there are rewards for getting a high ranking on this battlefield list. As long as you can keep ranking first for 24 hours, you can get a lot of extra contribution points. The larger the list, the richer the reward. The first place in the global battlefield will be rewarded with 100,000 contribution points at one time. For example, if you are ranked first in the East City District, the smallest area where Lin Qun is located, the reward is only 30 points. From the first place to the 10th place, there will be rewards. Lin Qun is ranked 9th. If he can hold on for 24 hours, he can get a civilization contribution point. Lin Qun's eyes are upward. It becomes hot. If he can become the 7th, he can get 3 contribution points. If he can reach the 5th, he can have 5 contribution points. He finally understood why the Bakatan civilization creatures were slaughtered crazily as soon as they landed. They were all competing for rankings. Lin Qun thought, the experience of you hunting us and killing us on the spot is also our experience. He knew that sitting and waiting for death is not a solution. He must use his skills well, be an old bitch who takes the initiative to attack, collect 10 contribution points as soon as possible, and start the skill lottery again. And the function of contribution points is far more than that. There is also a special exchange mall for contribution points. There are no daily necessities here, only weapons, from tens of millions to billions, trillions of black hole weapons, super battleships, annihilation weapons, to knives that can be exchanged for only 1 contribution point, etc. Everything is available. This series of content is to make these civilizations crazy, desperately fight and slaughter each other. Whoever kills more can exchange for terrible top level weapons. With one move, the dimensionality reduction attack can directly kill the opponent. Lin Qun's heartbeat slowed down. Who initiated and led this civilization war? What kind of existence can set off such a war? It is so crazy and twisted, as if it is only for countless civilizations to fight to the death. And up to now Lin Qun has not seen this crazy global hegemony civilization can be judged as a condition for winning. Do we have to kill all other civilizations? Lin Qun took a deep breath. He is not so conscious. He can't take care of the affairs of civilization. It is urgent for him to become stronger and survive. Now he has only 3 contribution points, which is not enough to exchange for card drawing opportunities, but he can exchange weapons in the contribution point mall here. Lin Qun's eyes moved. It only takes 1 contribution point to exchange for a pistol. 30 rounds of pistol ammunition can be exchanged for only 1 contribution point. Should I exchange the weapon first, or save it until I have accumulated 10 contribution points? Lin Qun was browsing and pondering, when suddenly his eyes lit up. He saw something. It was energy recovery potion. Fuck, there really is a blue bottle. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8. Do you want to live? Energy Restoration Potion. Primary. Description. Use this item to instantly restore 3 points of energy. Purchase requires 1 civilization contribution point. Lin Qun directly exchanged a bottle for backup. In just a blink of an eye, a small brown medicine bottle that looked like Shuanghuanglian appeared in Lin Qun's palm. It looked ordinary, and Lin Qun carefully put it away. At this moment, the internet, water, and electricity were all cut off. The city was bustling, but Langcheng Daijing community fell into a strange silence. After a short rest, Lin Qun's energy had recovered to 14 points. He stood up and prepared to go out. That's right, go out. At this moment, the whole community was trembling with fear, and every family closed their doors in fear and dared not go out. But Lin Qun was the only exception. He wanted to go out. Instead of waiting for others to come to him, he should fight his way out. Get more contribution points as soon as possible. Because Lin Qun found that in such a short time, his ranking has dropped from 9th to more than 30, and the first place is still the person named King. She already has 25 contribution points. What kind of madman is this? He is simply killing like crazy. Lin Qun doesn't ask for the first place, but he must get into the top 10. If he can be 5th or 6th, that would be the best. This is not impossible. Although the first place has killed 25 people, the current 5th place only has 10 contribution points. Do it as soon as you think of it. From the beginning, the Bastions in the sky fell like dumplings. It will be difficult to get out when their number increases. They are obviously soldiers of the whole people. The first and second floors downstairs are all survivors. The residents of the whole building are crowded together, all surrounding the B level called leasing. Lin Qun realized at this time that the credit for his killing 3 Bastions in a row was all attributed to this guy leasing. Lin Qun also glanced at the guy. Leasing occupied a living room alone and was sought after by everyone, but there was no excitement on his face, but a kind of awkwardness, as if sitting on pins and needles. Of course, this expression was cold and severe in the eyes of others. Only Lin Qun could see his thoughts. Being regarded as a big boss is good at ordinary times, but being regarded as a big boss now is a double-edged sword. On the contrary, Lin Qun was ignored in the crowd. Fan Wenchuan led people to collect everyone's supplies on the other side. Although he also had Leasing's back, he felt like he was second to none. Lin Qun took a look and slipped out quietly. No one cared about him, only a hot DJ girl with clairvoyant skills in the corner, who accidentally glanced at him and was a little surprised. He dared to go out alone at this time. Is he crazy? Lin Qun was certainly not crazy. On the contrary, he moved along the Blood River. He used his experience of playing League of Legends and eating chicken in the past and moved forward in a wretched manner to find the location of the Bastions. His physique was too weak, far below the average level. If he was discovered by the Bastions first, he would be dead. Therefore, he had to be wretched enough. Only by discovering the Bastions first could he take the initiative to kill them. However, what Lin Qun didn't expect was that the Bastions were very easy to find. They were right at the entrance of the community. Moreover, there were more than just 2 people as Lin Qun thought. The 2 people of the Bastion civilization were welcoming another team of Bastions. 12 in total. The leader, who was taller, seemed to be the captain of the Bastion team. He was wearing black armor and was talking to the other 2 Bastions. 14 Bastions. Lin Qun was sweating coldly. If they gathered together, he would definitely not be their opponent. He was not stupid. He immediately realized why there was no sound after he killed the 3 Bastions. It turned out that they were waiting for reinforcement. Now, the reinforcement have arrived. And at this moment, the little leader in black armor suddenly turned his head and looked in the direction where Lin Qun was hiding, and then suddenly stretched out his hand and pointed in this direction. Several Bastions around him moved at once. They were discovered. Lin Qun was shocked. But he was not a joke. He had killed 3 Bastions and had long overcome his fear. You look at me, and I look at you. The headshot girl's skill was activated directly. A flash of blood splattered. However, this time she failed to headshot, and blood splattered. The armor on the neck of the black armored leader exploded, and a piece of blood exploded. Its body stumbled back, and it also showed a shocked expression. The Bastions around it were also in chaos. They all gathered around and guarded the black armored leader. They were all shocked. What kind of method is this? They didn't even see the face of the enemy. The previous 5-man team leader said in a deep voice in Bastion, "It's the human who killed our compatriots. It must be him." They were surprised, and Lin Qun was also surprised. The physique of this black armored leader exceeded 18 points. It's almost twice the standard of humans. What kind of physique is this? You know, those ordinary Bastion civilization warriors before, with a physique of less than 16 points, could tear humans apart with their hands. But Lin Qun's counterattack was still useful. He caused chaos among these Bakatans, and he took the opportunity to retreat and quickly move away, first to distance himself. He still had 12 points of energy and could use up to 5 skills. But there are 14 Bakatans here, and there is a black armored leader who cannot be killed by his own skills. Cold sweat is flowing down Lin Qun's forehead. What to do? What to do? Exclamation mark. Behind him, an angry roar sounded. The black armored leader was not seriously injured. He roared and directly issued an order, asking the remaining 13 Bakatans to search the entire community and advance in a line, following the position where Lin Qun just was, and advance in a line. The dull and terrifying gunshots tore through the silence of the community. The survivors hiding in Longcheng Daijing community were all panicked. The same was true for Lin Qun's building number 5. Everyone was panicked. Because the bodies of the 3 Bakatans were just in front of the building, it was obvious that they must be the target here. A group of people began to run to higher floors again. The awakened girl with the talent of clairvoyance issued a warning anxiously. I saw it. I saw it. 14 Bakatans, and 1 leader, who seems to be injured. They are all coming this way. There is another person. Who is he? Wait, why does he look familiar? Her words triggered panic. Fan Wenchuan grabbed Li Xing and said, brother, I will take people upstairs. I will leave this to you. Li Xing was dumbfounded. 14 Bakatans. What a fight. He couldn't beat any of them. No, 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 no. Building leader Fan, you have to help me. You have to organize people to help me. 14. I'm definitely not a match for them alone. Fan Wenchuan also gritted his teeth and pushed out the skinny man who had been following him. You go. You find a few people to cooperate with Mr. Li. I'm old. I want to go up and hide. The skinny man's face turned pale, but he also understood that it was not likely to win against 14, and he was looking for people everywhere. But when he turned around, he found that Li Xing was gone. The skinny man's expression was dull. He ran away. Li Xing ran away, of course. Are you kidding me? Let him fight 14 people alone. Isn't this courting death? Run. Must run. Run quickly. However, when Li Xing ran out, he saw a group of 5 Bakatans, and a volley of bullets shot directly at him. Li Xing was immediately shocked. Dead. Dead. If Fan Wenchuan and others saw the boss they thought was like this, they would probably all run down from the upstairs. But at this critical moment, a hand suddenly stretched out from the shadows on the side and pulled him in. Li Xing was startled and only heard a voice behind him, speaking quickly and coldly. Do you want to live? I have a way to kill all these Bakatans outside, but I need your cooperation. The man was standing behind him, and Li Xing couldn't see who the other person was, but he was startled when he heard the words, and then he was inexplicably relieved. He was sure that this person was definitely the real boss. Is he going to show up and take action? Exclamation mark. Chapter 9. Kill like crazy. Heavy gunshots echoed. 14 Bakatans have spread out in full force, sweeping across the entire Longcheng Daijing community. There are 5 of them in the front direction alone. But Li Xing's fear turned into excitement at this time. Because the real boss stood up, and he said he had a way. Brother, what should I do? How should I cooperate with you? I have the B-level ability Holy Light Summoning. I can assist you. Heal you. No one wants to be chased and killed, and Li Xing also wants to cooperate with the boss to kill and avenge his hatred. But unfortunately, the boss behind him said indifferently, no need to heal, just run out and let them think that you killed the 3 of them. Help me attract attention. Remember, don't let them find me, otherwise, if I die, none of us will survive. Li Xing's face collapsed immediately. This is not asking him to cooperate, it is clearly asking him to go out and be cannon fodder. But unfortunately, the big guy behind him didn't say a word of nonsense. He pushed him out directly, leaving only the last sentence, if you want to live, do what I say. Li Xing stumbled and was pushed out. His soul flew away, but he had no time to think, and he didn't even have time to look back at the appearance of the mysterious big guy because the 5 Bakatans had locked him and were chasing him madly. He simply gritted his teeth and stomped his feet, regardless of whether the Bakatans could understand him or not, and roared, "It was me who killed the 3 of you. If you have the guts, come and kill me." He shouted toughly, but his feet were not idle at all. He ran away. His highest attribute is agility, which is 11 points. At this time, he fully exerted it, dancing on the tip of the knife, racing with the god of death. At this time, the skinny man finally brought a group of people out. When he saw this scene, he burst into tears. He once thought that Li Xing had run away, but he didn't expect that this big man was worthy of being a big man. He was so brave that he came out alone. This Mr. Li is too brave. I just said where he went, but he came out alone. Let's go, let's cooperate with him. The skinny man said that he was cooperating, but in fact, they didn't have that much strength. It was just to attract the firepower of these monsters. But the more chaotic the situation is, the more the attention of the Bastions will be attracted, and the more he can hide in it and snipe at will. Even if the black armored little leader has a keen sense, it is impossible to identify himself in such a mess. This is exactly Lin Qun's plan. Disrupt the situation and kill all these Bastions. The end of the sky illuminated by the fire has emerged as a fish belly white. This long night seems to be finally coming to an end. But Lin Qun must end the battle before the sun rises. 14 Bastions. Either you die or I die. Lin Qun took a step. Start to act. He implemented the spirit of Voldemort in the game of PUBG and moved around the community madly, based on his understanding of his own community. He hid wherever there was a hidden place. Garbage dumps, grass, and even trash cans. As long as it was hidden enough, he would hide there. Find a good angle. A fixed gaze. Direct headshot with naked eyes. Those Bastions seemed to be able to understand human language. They determined that Li Xing was the target and chased him relentlessly. They were completely attracted and had no idea that a sneaky figure was lingering on the edge of the battlefield where they were chasing each other, launching skills again and again. Bang, 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 blood splattered. 3 Bastions were killed one after another by Lin Qun. Li Xing, who was originally terrified, even shouted excitedly. He was chased by the Bastions and pissed himself off. He was angry and saw the Bastions being shot in the head. He was excited, as if he was the one who did it. He also became arrogant. Come on, come on. If you take another step forward, I'll blow your heads off. A row of bullets flew at them. But the Bastion who fired the shot also had his head blown off instantly. The last Bastion was horrified and retreated in fear, howling wildly in their channel in Bastion language. This human with high potential is too terrifying. We have lost 3 soldiers. Captain, we request reinforcement. We request reinforcement. The captain in black armor replied coldly, what's the point of killing a few low-level soldiers? Keep attracting their attention, and we will complete the encirclement. This human, and the people in this entire community, will become your and my merits and contributions. If you look from a god's perspective, at this moment, it seems that there is only 1 Bastion left chasing Li Xing. But in fact, the remaining 10 Bastions have formed a huge encirclement and are about to surround Li Xing to death. Li Xing, who was in the middle, was still unaware. As for the skinny man and others, their strength and physical fitness were very poor, and they had just been killed in pieces, and the skinny man had disappeared long ago. But in the corners and shadows, Lin Qun was ambushing. He was carrying out Voldemort's attributes to the end. His eyes were extremely cold. Killing 4 Bastions in a row, his energy value fell to 6 points again. Without hesitation, he took out the energy recovery potion and instantly replenished it to 9 points. At the same time, he also quickly completed the upgrade. His level directly reached level 3, and he needed 400 experience points to upgrade to level 4. At the same time, all his attributes were improved. Physical fitness jumped from 9 to 10, and the headshot limit of the headshot female skill increased accordingly. Now, he can headshot opponents with 20 points of physical fitness. This is a key link in Lin Qun's plan. The physical fitness of the Bastion black armored little boss is too high for him to be an opponent. Then he can brush these little monsters to upgrade. As the level increases, his physical fitness can also be strengthened. At that time, I don't believe that I can't blow up the head of the black armored little boss. Kill one by one. However, at this moment, with the continuous movement, the encirclement of the Bastions has been formed. Li Xing despairingly found that he had nowhere to hide and no way forward, and was trapped downstairs of building number 9. Surrounded by Bastions. Intensive machine gun fire. He could only hide in the building behind him. The wall bricks were pierced alive. The Bacatons even threw in a weapon that looked like a grenade, almost blowing up the entrance of the building. Lin, the big boss, was running away with his head in his hands. They were still very cautious. The encirclement was formed, and they continued to advance in an orderly manner. If they killed their way into the building, Lin would be caught in the jar. The pupils of the black armored little leader flashed a trace of cruelty. It thought that this high potential human was dead. However, what frightened these Bacatons was that the human they had suppressed could not raise his head, but their people were still shot in the head one after another. Lin in the building was running away with his head in his hands, but the Lin Qun outside was already killing like crazy. Every glance was a golden headshot. If you don't have enough energy, just buy energy recovery potions to replenish it. Killing a Bacaton will earn you 1 contribution point. The potion purchased with 1 contribution point can restore 3 points of energy. Killing 3 will earn you 1 point, so you won't lose anything. Below level 3, 20 points of physical fitness is still not enough to headshot the black armored little leader. Not enough. Well, I'll keep killing. These Bacatons never dreamed that Lin Qun was hiding less than 10 meters behind them and slaughtering them crazily. Their tactics were fine, but they had completely found the wrong target. Blood splattered, and there were survivors in the buildings on both sides, all lying in front of the windows, watching this scene in fear. They were all shocked. That man is too fierce. What kind of ability is he? People are blocked in the building, but he is still killing crazily. How does he aim? This is a super boss. There is such a master in our community. At this time, 7 Bacatons were killed in a row. There were only 3 left out of the 14 Bacatons. And Lin Qun was upgraded again. Reached level 4. All attributes were improved again. His physique even reached an inhuman 11 points. This means that he can headshot a target with a 22-point physique. Lin Qun's eyes once again moved to the black armored leader on the other side. The face of the black armored little leader of Bacaton also became a little horrified. He had never seen such a terrifying ability. Obviously, that human had been suppressed by them, but how could he still kill people? No. There must be something wrong here. Observe. The human in the building has been completely suppressed, but their companions are still dying. Maybe the person in the building is just a decoy, and the human who really killed them is someone else. The black armored little leader was startled, and he finally reacted, but it was too late. He turned back like lightning. His eyes moved, turned half a circle, and then met the eyes of Lin Qun behind him. Then, the other 2 ordinary Bacaton warriors were horrified to see that the head of the black armored little leader beside them exploded without any warning. 22 points of physique. Successful headshot. A look, staring directly to death. No matter how powerful this little black armored leader is, his physical fitness cannot reach 22 points. You have killed a high level target of the alien civilization and obtained +1 civilization contribution point and +100 experience points. Chapter 10. Second card draw. The headless body of the black armored leader held his gun for a moment, then fell to the ground with a bang. The last 2 Bacatons were the 2 remaining members of the original 5-member team. They looked at each other, their eyes revealing deep fear. This fear was completely different from the excitement they had when they had just landed and started a crazy massacre. Then, the captain roared, "Charge! Charge in and fight him!" As they spoke, they rushed forward frantically, their spider-like lower limbs moving at a very fast speed, and crashed directly into the corridor in front. The 2 men's desperate actions surprised Lin Qun. Lin Qun had just killed the Bacaton leader and turned his eyes back, but the 2 Bacatons had almost disappeared from his sight. They had been advancing just now, and now they were too close to the entrance of the corridor. Lost vision. Lin Qun's ability could not be activated. He only had time to headshot 1, and the last remaining Bacaton still rushed upstairs. With Lin's ability, facing this Bacaton in the narrow corridor would definitely kill him. Damn it. Lin Qun hesitated for a moment, gritted his teeth, and ran out of his hiding place, ready to rush into the corridor. No matter if it was for himself or not, Lin cooperated with him. Otherwise, he would never have been able to kill 13 Bacatons so easily. He couldn't just sit back and watch Lin die. But before Lin Qun got close, he heard a loud bang from the 3rd floor of the building. Lin Qun was stunned. He saw that the walls of the corridor on the third floor collapsed. The bastion was knocked down from the third floor and fell to the ground. He twitched and seemed to be dead. His face and mask were smashed. It looked like he was beaten to death by a heavy punch. Does Li Xing still have this fighting power? Can he kill the bastion in seconds? Lin Qun looked up dumbfounded, but unexpectedly saw a figure. It's her? It was the only beautiful woman with a physique of more than 16 points that he found a few hours ago. At this moment, she was standing on the third floor, wearing a white outfit that outlined her perfect figure. Her high ponytail tied behind her back, coupled with her cold and beautiful eyebrows, made her feel as if she was born to be a superior. She was pulling up Li Xing, who was sitting on the ground and looking equally confused, and said, "Sorry, I didn't make a move just now, because my ability can only be used in close combat. I can only use it when they come up. You are very powerful. You can kill so many." The average physical fitness of these bastion creatures is above 14 points. Li Xing was lucky enough, agile enough, and dodged quickly. It seems that he didn't lose any limbs, but there were many scratches on his body, and his face was still in shock. Downstairs, Lin Qun, who was standing alone among the corpses of bastion people, and his muttering just now seemed to have attracted her attention. The woman turned her head to look at Lin Qun and frowned slightly. She seemed to have an impression of Lin Qun. This girl is probably a master who has awakened a high-level close combat talent. Li Xing seemed to come back to his senses at this time, realizing that everything was over. He turned back instinctively, as if in a dream, wanting to see what the big guy looked like. But unfortunately, when he looked over, Lin Qun had disappeared silently. Li Xing was not dead, and it was enough to have a clear conscience. It would not be bad for Lin Qun to let everyone misunderstand that Li Xing was a master. Because after the battle just now, he was more determined in his heart. If you want to survive, you have to be Voldemort. You can ambush and kill others suddenly and never fight head on. Lin Qun was a little regretful that the equipment on these bastions seemed to be unusable. There was some kind of technical identification function. Once used by non-bastions, it would explode. Those bastion guns were too big, and Lin Qun was not interested, but he was still a little tempted by the armor of the little black armored leader, but he could only choose to give up. At this time, Li Xing came back to his senses, and looked at the woman in front of him. He was stunned for a moment, and showed a little bit of Chunje's look. "You. Thank you. I'm Li Xing. Chu Yaowei." The woman pulled her hand out calmly. On the other side, Lin Qun had already returned quickly. At this time, the news had spread in the community. People were talking excitedly. Fan Wenchuan ran down again and was comforting his skinny follower, saying excitedly, "See, I told you, follow me, we can all survive." But Lin Qun only glanced at him, walked from the edge of the crowd, and went upstairs. However, he did not notice that there was a pair of eyes in the corner, looking at him without blinking. It was the girl with the clairvoyance skill. She looked at Lin Qun's back as he hurried upstairs, and a thoughtful color flashed in her eyes. She saw something. But Lin Qun had returned to his home. At this moment, he still had 6 points of energy left. He still felt that his body was hollowed out. But what made him excited was, he has reached level 4, and his attribute panel has been fully upgraded. He has been promoted twice in a row. Name, Lin Qun level 4, 150/800, strength 11 agility, 9 constitution, 11 stamina, 6/18. Reminder, the standard value of all the above data for ordinary people is 10. Talent, card draw bonus ability, current number of card draws remaining. 0 skills, 1. Bang skill level 1. Within a radius of 10 meters with yourself as the center, look at the target and use this skill to destroy any part of the carbon-based life body, the current upper limit of the target's constitution, that can be directly blasted. 22. When using this skill on an enemy with a constitution exceeding this value, the effect will decrease. This time, Lin Qun can clearly feel his own changes. His strength exceeds that of ordinary people, and has been significantly enhanced. He couldn't move the bed by himself before, but now he can pry it with one hand. Exceeding the strength of ordinary people, this is no joke. Moreover, although his agility was not up to the average level, he tried to run in the house, and his speed increased significantly. He was excited. With his physical fitness improved, his overall survival ability would undoubtedly be greatly improved, and he would no longer be a weak chicken with no strength to fight. Last time, he hid behind the flower bed to kill 3 Bakatons, and he was out of breath without much exercise. But just now, he had been running and hiding, and now he didn't feel very tired physically, but the fatigue was mental. Not only that, Lin Qun found that his ranking in the regional war zone had also improved. The use of contribution points would not affect the calculation of the ranking. Lin Qun had killed a total of 16 Bakatons. He had obtained 16 contribution points. Now, with this number, he ranked 4th in the entire Demon City East City District. If he could keep this position for 24 hours, he would be able to obtain 6 contribution points. At this moment, Lin Qun's eyes turned and looked at the total number of his contribution points. Just right. 10 contribution points. He killed 16 Bakatons in total. He just spent 6 contribution points to exchange for energy recovery potions, and there were exactly 10 left. While Lin Qun was making his move, he was also calculating. He tried to keep enough contribution points to draw cards. Therefore, he dragged his hollowed out body back with only 6 points of energy left for this opportunity to draw cards. Individual upgrades have limited increases, but if he can draw a good card, it will greatly improve Lin Qun's combat capability. Lin Qun took a deep breath and directly exchanged for a chance to draw a card. Suddenly, the display of his unlimited card drawing ability changed. The number of card draws became 1. Downstairs, the short-term safety made many people feel relieved, and many people ran out. There were many voices, and some people hugged the bodies of their family members and cried. Li Xing became the focus of attention. As for Chu Yaowei, who seemed to be very powerful, she did not appear. After making her move, she returned to her room. Obviously, she did not want to bring any burden. And the sky in the distance finally gradually brightened. The giant sail warships that loomed over the magic city were lined up in a strict manner and were moving towards the west of the city. It seemed that a war was about to break out there. The Bakaton people, who were all soldiers, were still landing intensively. A large number of equipment and personnel were coming from the other side of the world. The situation in the magic city was about to fall into a deeper darkness with the dawn. But at this moment, Lin Qun's attention was all on his card drawing ability. He hoped to draw another ability. Others could only have one superpower after awakening their talents, but he had the ability to draw cards, just like opening a cheat, and could have countless abilities. Just thinking about it, Lin Qun was a little excited. In order to draw good things, he also deliberately used some precious mineral water to wash his hands, and then he started the card drawing process. I must draw good things. I must draw good things. Lin Qun muttered to himself, like chanting a spell, and began to draw cards. Soon, a card emerged. When he saw clearly what was drawn on it, Lin Qun's expression suddenly became strange. It was this? Chapter 11. From today on, I'm Super Mario. Lin Qun's expression became strange. The content of this card is cartoon-like, and the main character in the center is a guy with red and blue overalls and a big nose. No matter from which angle you look at it, it seems to be the plumber Mario who saved the princess! Exclamation mark. As expected. Name, Mario. Mario. Leap skill card. Type, skill card. Inherent. Description, use this skill card to get the jump of the character Mario from Super Mario. Special note, this card is one of the Mario decks. Collect the Mario Jump skill card, Mario Strength skill card, Mario Speed skill card, and Mario Carelessness card. To synthesize the Super Mario character card, obtain all of Mario's abilities, and unlock the skill cartoon power. This, Lin Qun immediately thought of the way Mario jumped around in Super Mario, but when he saw the back, his eyes lit up. There are actually sets of cards and decks. After synthesis, not only can all of Mario's abilities be unlocked, but he can also get cartoon power. This is Mario's extremely special ability. His cartoon power can break the dimensional wall. This, can't I go to the second dimension and hug my wife? Lin Qun was a little excited. He wished he could draw 100 more times and draw all the Mario cards. but this time the card type is still a skill card. I wonder if there are other categories? He immediately chose to load the ability, and the card disappeared quickly. Then, Lin Qun's personal panel immediately added another row of descriptions below the original headshot girl skill. Skills: 1. Bang skill level. Level 1. Within a radius of 10 meters with yourself as the center, look at the target and use this skill to destroy any part of the carbon-based life body. The current upper limit of the target's physical fitness that can be directly blasted. 22. When using this skill on an enemy with a physical fitness exceeding this value, the effect will decrease to Mario. Leap skill card. Skill level. Level 1. You can use the force to jump in any state and even violate certain physical laws. You can jump up to a height of 4 times your height. The number of times this skill can be used is limited only by physical fitness. This means that, as long as Lin Qun is physically able, he can jump infinitely. His height is nearly 1.8 meters, and with 4 times the height, the highest jump that can be made is more than 7 meters. The height of a 2-story building. This is simply a life-saving skill. If I can't run on the road, I can just jump away. Moreover, this skill can also be upgraded. What bonuses can be obtained after upgrading? Can I jump a higher multiple, or can I achieve a double jump in the air? Thinking of this, Lin Qun was a little excited. He was eager to try it, and he was ready to try it in the house. The height of his small house is 2.8 meters. It can't reach 7 meters, but he doesn't have to jump 7 meters at once. Just try it. Lin Qun activated the skill and gently pushed the ground with 1 foot. With a bang and a scream, Lin Qun fell to the ground. Stars appeared in his eyes. He had already jumped very lightly, but he still didn't control it well and hit his head on the ceiling, dizzy. But a happy look appeared on his face. The use of this skill still needs practice, but it's always good. With this skill, combined with the skill of the headshot girl, he can even achieve an aerial sniper kill and high-speed retreat. With a set of combos, others may not even be able to see his shadow. The most cunning of the cunning. Lin Qun made up his mind. He wanted to become the first person to develop in a wretched way. However, he was also a little curious about how many contribution points were needed to upgrade this skill. Lin Qun sat on the ground and didn't rush to get up, so he immediately checked it out. He found that Mario only needed 50 contribution points to upgrade this skill. It was half of the skill of the headshot girl. Lin Qun's eyes flashed with expectation. Maybe he will be able to achieve a double jump in the air soon. Although he was excited, Lin Qun also understood the current situation. He gained some abilities and quickly stood up and observed the outside on the 7th floor. The sky was already bright. Last night, the battle between the military and the main force of the Bastions took place at the far end of the city. Those giant sailing ships were all in that position, but they were not defeated. The huge fleet was rising from the end of the field of vision, bathed in the sun, revealing a sacred beauty of doomsday. In the daytime, the cracks in the sky became less clear, but there were still batches of Bastions who entered the blue star through the cracks in various strange aircrafts, flying around the magic city, and even a few flew over the head of Longcheng Daijing community. They may have other tasks, or from the air. The human corpses and blood flowing everywhere in Longcheng Daijing community seemed to have been slaughtered, so they flew over at high speed, without paying too much attention or searching, and did not land. They whizzed past, and disappeared in the sky in the blink of an eye. At this moment, most people in Longcheng Daijing community hid in the building, not daring to show their heads, and everyone was terrified, but they did not dare to leave. No one knew what was outside. In the community, at least there were experts. Li Xing, who had killed more than a dozen Bastions, seemed to be a star figure in the entire community. Fan Wenchuan took people to take him back to building number 5 and provided him with good food and drink. The woman named Chu Yaoi was also flattered by many people, but unfortunately, she seemed to be an indifferent person and did not even open the door. In the city, there were dense gunshots and explosions. Thick smoke billowed everywhere. Lin Qun could see a 50+ story building in the distance broken in half. I don't know if it was an illusion, but there was a Bastion flying in the sky without any technological equipment. They also have incredible top-level masters. The once prosperous magic city has turned into a terrifying battlefield. The strange tranquility of Langcheng Daijing community at this moment is like an isolated island forgotten by the world. The main force of the Bakatans is suspected to be exchanging fire with the military for control of the main urban area. The two teams here were completely wiped out, but there were only a dozen Bakatans. There were no people who could stand up to the stage, and they could not alarm them. The federal military was also nowhere to be seen. Langcheng Daijing community fell into a strange moment of peace. But this was a good thing for Lin Qun. He needed some time to correct himself and recover his energy. He heard a faint sound in the building. It seemed that there were survivors looking for a house to live in. Li Xing was in charge of building number 5, and building number 5 became a popular place. Everyone crowded here, as if being closer to Li Xing would make them safer. They found an empty house, and didn't mind squeezing together with a dozen people. Lin Qun took a look through the peephole, locked the security door, and went into the bedroom, ready to take a nap. This was the best and fastest way he could think of to restore his energy. For humans, sleep is the best rest. And Lin Qun was indeed a little tired. He lay on the bed, and fell into a deep sleep in a short while, until he was awakened by a gentle knock on the door. Someone came to the door. Chapter 12. Sorry, I'm afraid it will affect my energy. A hot woman stood outside the door, wearing fishnet stockings that outlined her long legs. Her upper body was a sleeveless top, and you could see that, although her figure was slender and curvy, she also had muscles. She had short hair, a capable temperament, and a unique wildness. Lin Qun recognized her and said stiffly, I know you. You have the skill of clairvoyance. Why are you looking for me? I don't welcome anyone else to stay here. Lin Qun had already determined to be a peerless Voldemort, but he was not prepared to do anything stupid like taking a girl away. He didn't sleep for long. It seemed like only more than 3 hours had passed, and his energy was now 16/18, almost recovered. Hello, my name is Zhao Wen. My ability is not that great. Although it is called clairvoyance, it is of a very low level now. I can only see things within a range of 60 meters, and the range is only 3 square meters. However, my ability can only be used continuously for 10 minutes a day at most. Zhao Wen introduced her ability generously. She looked at Lin Qun with some inquiry and curiosity in her eyes. I have nothing to do with you. I just want to talk to you. I think you are very brave. When the Bakatans came today, you were also helping outside, right? This skill is a voyeuristic skill. Lin Qun was a little emotional. Zhao Wen's eyes were fixed on Lin Qun. Of course, the purpose of her coming here is not as simple as she said. She has a feeling that this man is not simple. She thinks that maybe the man in front of her is a real super boss. As a nightclub DJ, Zhao Wen is not very old, but she has seen all kinds of men. She even likes to take the initiative to conquer some men who look very powerful or tease those very shy men. So she has developed a keen intuition and judgment. Before she discovered the Bakatans, the man was already outside, and when Li Xing was suppressed by the Bakatans in building number 9, he was watching from the sidelines the whole time. Others may not know the specific details of what happened at that time, but she was observing with her clairvoyance, and could even see the state of Li Xing hiding in the building at that time. She could be said to be the person who knew what happened a few hours ago best in the entire Langcheng Daijing community. Therefore, she also saw how embarrassed Li Xing was. She couldn't help but doubt deeply, in that state, could Li Xing really blow up those Bakatans in an orderly manner? From this perspective, Lin Qun, who seemed to be watching calmly from the sidelines, was more like the one who really killed all the Bakatans. Her curiosity was aroused. Seeing that Lin Qun had no intention of letting her in, she smiled slightly, as if the weather was hot, and tugged at her collar. The first button was not fastened, and it opened immediately. Her slender neck, beautiful collarbone, and the looming mountains and ravines, combined with her aggressive and probing eyes and temperament, made people have the urge to conquer her mountains. She tilted her head and smiled. I think we can have a pleasant chat. As a grown man, do you think you are so incompetent? This trick has been tried and tested by her many times. No one can resist her. However, today she will be disappointed. Because Lin Qun only glanced at her with his head down and said something that made her dumbfounded. Sorry, I'm afraid it will affect my energy. Then, with a bang, he closed the door. She was directly rejected. Lin Qun exhaled a breath. It's not true that he is not moved. Lin Qun is also a young boy who has not had much contact with girls. How can he resist? But from the fact that this woman took the initiative to come to his house and had the clairvoyance skill, Lin Qun judged that she might have some guesses about his abilities and came with a purpose, so he would not be blinded by lust. What's more, the reason he said was true. His energy was very precious now, and every bit of energy was a bullet. After sleeping for 3 hours, he finally recovered to 16 o'clock. Seeing that the recovery was slow, Lin Qun didn't want to shoot below and couldn't shoot above. There was no danger in these 3 hours. Who knows if there will be danger next. He has spent all his contribution points, but he has no contribution points to exchange for energy recovery potions. If he is stretched, wouldn't he be dumbfounded? Energy cannot be used indiscriminately. However, this Zhao Wen's ability is not bad. If she can cooperate with him, maybe. But Lin Qun quickly shook his head and extinguished this idea. He didn't know who the other party was. In this situation, it would be better to be careful alone than to cooperate with strangers rashly. Anyway, he has the ability. In this case, the risk of going alone is not higher than blindly forming a group. The same kind is sometimes more terrifying than the different races. And outside the door, looking at the tightly closed door, this Zhao Wen was dumbfounded. It's not that she hasn't been rejected before, but she has never been rejected like this. Her cherry mouth was half open, her expression was a little dull, and there was a trace of suspicion in her eyes. Is this really not possible or not? Are you afraid that I will break it for you? Can he really be that strong? Did she guess wrong? In fact, Zhao Wen didn't really want to sacrifice herself. She wanted to test it more. If this Lin Qun is really a strong man, it would be fine. If not, she is sure to get away with it. She knows how to mediate with men. But Lin Qun's reaction made her more curious and want to explore. She must find out what secrets this man has. Thinking of this, she took a step and walked downstairs. Now, the location of building number 5 is very hot, and there are people living in the corridor. Zhao Wen is beautiful and has a hot body, and some people cast covetous eyes on her. Zhao Wen glanced at her and gently lifted a corner of her clothes at the back of her waist, revealing a fruit knife and a baton she had tucked behind her back. The gaze quickly disappeared. Zhao Wen snorted coldly. She walked away with her long legs. When Zhao Wen left, Lin Qun also returned to his room. The sound of gunfire in the far end of the city had never stopped, and the network was still disconnected. Lin Qun found that after 3 hours, his ranking had only dropped by 1 place, from 4th to 5th. It was daytime now, and the back attempts kept coming. The number had reached a terrifying level, and they were intensively active outside. On the contrary, human activities were compressed. Except for the military, most people were hiding, especially those who had the strength to kill the Bacatans. They were not moving, and the ranking did not change. The biggest change in the ranking of this area was, the man named King was no longer the first. The first place became Qun of the 6th Armored Division of the Magic City War Zone. His contribution points were 103. He killed more than 100 Bacatans. King, who was second, now only had 29 contribution points, a difference of 80 heads. Lin Qun's eyes flashed. He found that there were many similar names. The 6th Armored Division of the Magic City Theater. The 2nd Air Force Formation of the Magic City Theater. Behind these IDs, at least 1 contribution point is attached. At this moment, from the 20s to the 30s onwards, it is no longer 0, but at least 1 contribution point. Military soldiers have begun to register IDs. Information is blocked, the network is interrupted, and the whole city has fallen. They are using this method to tell everyone in the Magic City. They are fighting, they are resisting. They will fight to the death with the Bacatans. Even Lin Qun, looking at these prefixes one after another, felt an indescribable sense of stability and power. No one is an island. Someone is fighting desperately for their survival. They are willing to sacrifice their lives and not care about life and death. Those distant gunshots. At this moment, it doesn't seem so far away. Lin Qun took a deep breath. He plans to take the initiative to attack and hunt down the Bakatans after recovering and observing for a period of time. Get more contribution points. Chapter 13 Instinctive Choice. Lin Qun chose to set out at dusk. Heavy dark clouds were gathering over the magic city, and huge space cracks were looming, and the giant sailboat of the Bakatans also became hazy. The war lasted for a whole day, and their confrontation with the main force of the magic city seemed to be shifting from fierce confrontation to the next stage. The main force of the Bakatans was gathering to the west of the central city. This was a good thing for Lin Qun. That was far away from the direction of the East City district where he was. But the city was full of Bakatans. During the day, there were still clamoring Bakatans passing through the Dragon City Daijing community. However, the number of Bakatans entering from the cracks began to decrease. At this stage, the Bakatans who passed through the space cracks were no longer scattered in all directions, but densely gathered towards the main force of Bakatan in the XC area. Their army and main force were gathering, but there were also many Bakatans wandering in various districts of the Magic City, most of whom were Bakatan desperate people under the rule of the whole people. However, this is a good thing for Lin Qun. In such a large-scale battle, the death of more than a dozen Bakatans on the edge of the battlefield is not enough to attract the attention of the top figures of the Bakatans and avoid more possible attacks. Lin Qun could not see the specific situation over there, but he also felt that a war might break out there. This was a day without danger. In building number 5, Li Xing stayed indoors, and the survivors were scattered, with all kinds of news flying around. When Lin Qun went downstairs to hunt the Bakatans, he listened for a while and gained something. A middle-aged man who was said to have worked in the Federal National Security Bureau analyzed confidently, "This is an early landing. The countdown in our rise is now more than 10 hours. Logically speaking, only our demon city was attacked in the nearby area, and the surrounding troops should have been reinforced long ago. Even if there is no reinforcement, a saturation strike will be enough for the Bakatans to drink a pot, no matter how many air forces there are. The army should have been all over the city earlier. The situation is still so deadlocked now. I guess it's because the army can't get in." Do you still remember the regional blockade before the Bakatan civilization landed in advance? I'm afraid that this place has been designated as a regional battlefield. The outside reinforcement can't get in, and we can't get out. This sentence caused a commotion. How many of the survivors standing here for warmth are strong? They are all ordinary people who are in a panic. After listening to these analyzers, they are even more panicked. Then what should I do? I don't have much food at home. Is there any rescue? We only have a few garrisons in the Magic City, and they are a whole civilization. Everyone, don't panic. The Bakatans are stronger than us individually, but their technology is obviously not much different. Look at our rankings. So many of our soldiers are also fighting and slaughtering Bakatans. Doesn't Qun, who is ranked first, have more than 200 contribution points? We can win. We can win. Everyone talked a lot. Some were panicked, some were inexplicably confident, and some were trading privately. Lin Qun saw it. A man grabbed a young mother who was hiding in a corner with her child, handed her a bag of chocolate, and his eyes swept over the young mother's beautiful figure. The young mother came from another building. She had nothing, and seemed to have no milk. She was already starving, and her child was crying non-stop. Looking at the bag of chocolate, she was silent for a long time, before she nodded silently. She didn't dare to take her child out of the building to find something. At this moment, there were many similar situations in this building. Many people hid from other buildings. Although Fan Wenchuan didn't care that these people took root in the empty rooms and corridors of building number 5, he no longer accepted new people. He only gathered those around him and tightly controlled Li Xing, the big boss resource. They were the most well-off group of people here. If others wanted to get direct protection from Li Xing, they would need to pay a large amount of supplies or have special and useful abilities. Fan Wenchuan and his group were like the little overlords of this building, and they had a very obvious gap with others. Those ordinary survivors dreamed of becoming one of their group, but they couldn't join. They could only watch with envy and jealousy. Lin Qun watched coldly and slowly left building number 5. Although there were not many supplies in his house, they were enough for at least half a month, and he had the ability to protect himself. The distress of these survivors was not a problem for him at all. Fan Wenchuan's team, which had gradually changed, was of no use to Lin Qun. Because he was the big boss. Do I need to join you? Most people hid in their homes and buildings, trembling with fear and not daring to come out, but Lin Qun took the initiative to go out and hunt the Bastions. His energy had already been fully restored. It reached 18 o'clock. It was dusk, dark clouds were everywhere, and the sky and the earth were dark. This was the best time to hunt. For the sake of caution, Lin Qun waited until now to set off. Although his current physique and various attributes have been greatly improved, they have only just surpassed ordinary people. He didn't want to confront the Bastions head on. In Lin Qun's view, regardless of whether he can defeat the enemy head on, stabbing someone in the back is obviously better than the former. Because stabbing someone in the back is the least risky. It's better to be safe than sorry. However, during the day, Lin Qun's ranking dropped again, falling to 7th. For this reason, he had to take the initiative to stabilize the 4th place. The first ranking settlement will be conducted in the early morning of today. As long as he can maintain a high ranking before that, he can get additional contribution points. Lin Qun's eyes flickered. This was his goal. It was a little quiet in Longcheng Daijing community. There were corpses lying all over the ground. The once beautiful closed community had long been turned into hell. Some of them began to smell, mixed with the smell of blood, and it was pungent. Lin Qun moved forward along the shadows between the buildings. He did see shadowy figures moving cautiously between the buildings. At this time, everyone had their own goals, but they all seemed to be looking for someone or something. No one dared to leave the building too far, and few dared to leave the community. Only Lin Qun was an exception. He moved forward step by step. There were no Bastions in Longcheng Daijing community, so he moved slowly outside the community. Building number 5 was left behind. His community is not small. It takes at least 7 or 8 minutes to walk from building number 5 to the entrance. As soon as he approached this place, Lin Qun heard a sound coming from the supermarket at the entrance of the community in front. That supermarket was opposite the supermarket where Lin Qun first shopped. They didn't sell any supplies and kept the door closed. There should be something inside. Therefore, he instinctively judged that someone was looting supplies in the supermarket. He approached and observed carefully. It was a group of survivors trapped in the supermarket. 2 Bastions who were obviously not Bastion soldiers, wearing homemade silver-colored painted armor, were holding weapons, standing at the door of a burning supermarket, teasing and slaughtering the survivors inside. The shelves in the supermarket collapsed, and a large amount of supplies turned to ashes in the raging fire. The dozen or so survivors inside seemed to have come to collect supplies, but at this moment they fled frantically in panic. While screaming and fleeing, the 2 Bastions behind them were not in a hurry, holding Bastion weapons that looked like shotguns in their hands, and shot one by one. When they thought they could run away, they died alive. A scream. Behind the panicked survivors, a young girl fell down. Her pretty face was twisted with fear. She looked at the approaching Bastion and screamed loudly. At this moment, another person ran out from the survivors who were running. Lin Qun actually knew that person. He was the black-hearted boss who sold the supplies at sky-high prices before. This seemed to be a punishment from God for him. He sold all the supplies, but the doomsday really came. All the money became waste paper, and he had to run out to find supplies. The girl who fell down seemed to be his daughter. He rushed to her desperately, wanting to take her away. At this moment, the Bastion in front was infinitely close to them, but he did not shoot, deliberately creating a terrifying atmosphere and approaching step by step. Daughter, go, let's run. However, at this moment, the daughter he saved desperately raised her hand instinctively, pushed her father, and pushed him towards the monster, while he ran back desperately. This was the most tragic and instinctive choice. Her father ran back to save her. She ruthlessly pushed her father out as a shield and fled without looking back. Chapter 14. The Bastion airship. The small supermarket was a scene of hell. A dozen survivors scrambled to escape. Some even ran into the fire and ran away screaming. Neither the boss nor his daughter escaped. They had no chance to escape. The 2 Bastions had already taken control of the situation and were just playing around, giving these people the illusion that they could escape. What they enjoyed was the feeling of these humans feeling hopeful, but watching their hope shattered. Therefore, For the father and daughter, they killed the daughter first. The bastion raised his gun and shot the half body of the daughter who abandoned her father. The remaining lower body gushed blood plasma, shook, and fell to the ground. Then he lowered his head, admired the twisted face of the boss under his feet, and slowly raised the gun. The boss looked confused, sat, dull and twisted. He seemed to have never thought that he would be pushed out by his own daughter. At this time, he had forgotten to struggle. But he did not die. Because it was not his head that was blown up, but the head of the bastion. Lin Qun was already 10 meters away. He did not watch the boss being shot by the bastions. Maybe he was a black-hearted boss who only cared about money, and in the end he made things worse and was dumbfounded. But if it weren't for him, they might not have been able to buy the last batch of supplies. He can only be said to be a pathetic guy. The bastions were dead, but the black-hearted boss seemed to have forgotten to run for his life. He lay on the ground, motionless, as if he had lost his soul. The other bastion was obviously shocked when he saw his companion being killed. He instinctively retreated and hid immediately. Lin Qun lost his target in an instant. And Lin Qun was also moving quickly and changing angles. The enemy was in the light, while we were in the dark, which was his biggest advantage. While hiding, the bastion was also frantically looking for Lin Qun's figure, extending the muzzle of the gun from behind the bunker and firing wildly. But the next moment, its hand holding the gun exploded with a bang. A shrill scream came from behind the bunker. The survivors were all stunned and showed ecstasy. Lin Qun, on the other hand, was elusive, advancing in a roundabout way from another direction, staring at him dead with one glance, and shooting him in the head. The bastion was hiding behind a bunker, calling something with some kind of communication device. He was terrified, and had no defense at all, and died instantly. It was not a regular bastion army. 2 contribution points were credited. There was also 100 experience points. Lin Qun's eyes flashed. His regional ranking rose, and returned to 6th place. On the regional warzone rankings, the gap from 4th to 10th was not big, only a few contribution points. In the back, the survivors were all gathering here. Lin Qun thought about it, picked up a ZHU mask from the ground, and put it on his face. He didn't want others to know his true appearance. Since he was going to survive, he had to survive to the end. The supermarket was almost reduced to ruins, and the supplies were boiling in the sea of fire, or wasted. The survivors were very surprised and all gathered around him. Some expressed their gratitude to Lin Qun, and some wanted to be protected by Lin Qun. An old lady was holding a half-body corpse, crying and wailing, "They killed my son, child. Thank you, you must live and help me kill more monsters." She trembled and took out a few bags of almost broken instant noodles from her arms, and gave them all to Lin Qun. Lin Qun whispered, "I can't protect you. No, child, you are the most powerful person I have ever seen. You take these things. My son is dead, my wife is dead, and I don't want to live anymore. These are the only things I have, and the keys to my house. I give them all to you. Whatever you can use them all. Kill them all, kill them all." After listening to the old lady's words, Lin Qun was silent. He actually thought that she was going to rely on him. A pathetic shame arose in his heart. He pushed the old lady's hand back. "You keep it. You live and watch me kill those monsters." He felt an indescribable taste in his heart. He didn't know what to say, so he only said this sentence. But at this moment, he suddenly heard a harsh roar behind him. As soon as he turned his head, he saw something that was beyond his wits. Behind them, at the corner of the street outside the community, a shabby colorful open-top airship appeared, flying at a low altitude of more than 10 meters above the ground. 4 bastions were sitting on it, howling wildly and rushing towards them. The shape of that thing was similar to the Blue Star water speedboat, but it had a rear rocket thruster, which made it turn rapidly in the air and propel at high speed. It even had a 20mm caliber machine gun, which fired wildly. Outside the Langcheng Daijing community, the street had long been blocked by scrapped vehicles. It seemed that there had been a big chaos here. People from the surrounding communities tried to drive out, but they were all stuck here. The scrapped vehicles were shot one after another at this time. Some vehicles exploded, and a huge flame rose. Damn, it was the companions of the bastions. The survivors on the ground once again scattered like birds and beasts, panicked, and ran away. The old woman did not run away. She squatted down and tightly embraced the body of her child, who was only half of his body. She did not want to run away. Lin Qun was also scared to death. He turned around and ran in the opposite direction of the old woman. He could not help the old woman, and he did not know whether it was better to let her live or die. At least, do not let her become a target. In Lin Qun's opinion, with so many people running together, and he did not write on his face that he killed 2 Bakatans, the possibility of him being chased by the airship should be less than 1 in 10. But what surprised him was that the airship, facing a group of survivors who were fleeing for their lives, somehow locked onto him and chased him directly behind his ass. What the hell is this? Lin Qun was dumbfounded. At this time, he actually saw that the airship was shaking and shooting out a topsy-turvy missile, which was heading straight for him. Lin Qun City was far away from the core battlefield of the Magic City. Now, the people who were active here were either small fry or armed civilians of Bakatan. Their skills were uneven, mainly modifying equipment and exchanging weapons. They were far from representing the level of the regular army of Bakatan. However, the firepower of such a garbage airship was also very dangerous to Lin Qun now. Lin Qun did not hesitate and immediately activated Mario's skills. He jumped out in a parabola and jumped more than 10 meters in one breath. He jumped directly from the gate of the community to the street outside the community. Turning his head, he saw that the gate of Longcheng Daijing community behind him was blown up. Behind him, the group of Bakatan people howled wildly, and the rocket airship rushed forward at high speed, and the machine guns were all over the ground. How could Lin Qun be hard pressed with such firepower? He could be killed directly before the distance of 10 meters was shortened. Damn. There was no way back to the community. Lin Qun ran and jumped wildly on the street. This time, he experienced the feeling of Leasing, who was chased up and down and was driven like a stray dog. If he was a step slower, he would be shot on the spot. There was no way. They were airships, and they were coming too fast. Even if Lin Qun had just killed 2 Bakatans and turned around and left without wasting half a minute, they would still be able to catch up. Once they killed them, they would be impossible to get rid of. On the airship behind, the Bakatans howled ferociously. That's him. The detector we exchanged showed that he just got contribution points. Kill this human. He killed our companions. Don't rush to kill him in one breath. Shoot his legs. I will break his legs first, then crush his bones piece by piece, and let him die in extreme pain. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15 Aerial Sniper. Damn, why did they suddenly move? A few minutes ago, 2 streets away from Longcheng Daijing community, a squad of soldiers from the military was lying in ambush here, squatting on this group of Bakatans driving airships. Their anti-tank guns were ready, waiting for a good opportunity to fire. But at this moment, the Bakatans' airships suddenly accelerated. They let out a barbarian howl and flew away quickly. The squad leader of this squad, the square-faced man Jiangbin, stood up suddenly, gritted his teeth, and looked unwilling. Deputy Squad Leader Wang Deshan whispered, "Squad Leader, what should we do now? Get in the car and chase. This group of Bakatan armed personnel has airships, which is a huge danger to the survivors and brother troops in the surrounding areas. Since we have discovered them, we must keep an eye on them. We must shoot them down today." Jiangbin gave the order in a deep voice. Wang Deshan whispered, "But, Squad Leader, it's okay for us to sneak attack just now. If we chase them openly, once they find us, with the number of people we have observed, and the firepower of the airship, we are afraid that in a head-on confrontation." Jiangbin glanced behind him. Their squad is not fully staffed. There are only 9 people left now. Although they have conventional weapons, they have very little heavy firepower. In terms of vehicles, there is only one conventional military off-road vehicle with a 12.7mm caliber machine gun, and the remaining one is a temporary civilian commercial vehicle. Send a message for help to the nearby troops. Jiangbin said, "Let's slow down first, and don't expose ourselves. Let's see what they are going to do." If they threaten the lives of civilians, we must stop them anyway. Wang Deshan showed a worried look. It is very likely that these bastions are looking for civilians to kill in order to gain contribution points. They suddenly acted and left in a hurry. It is very likely that they found innocent survivors. On the other side, Lin Qun was being chased by the bastion airship. He was in a very bad state, but fortunately, he had Mario's jumping skill, which could violate certain physical laws. He could jump more than 10 meters away in one vertical leap. He could jump far and near, and jump horizontally repeatedly. He couldn't figure out the rules. The bastions had to constantly adjust the muzzle of their guns, which made Lin Qun always in a state of death as always one step behind me. Those bastions actually had some kind of translation equipment, shouting in stiff human language. Bastard, low-level species, how can you only know how to run? Did your mother only teach you how to run away from a dog since you were a child? Being chased and strafed and scolded like this, Lin Qun was furious and wanted to turn around and fight with this group of bastions. But he knew that impulsiveness was not a wise move. He was being suppressed and beaten now. From his position, he could hardly see the bastions on the airship at a height of more than 10 meters. How could he fight back? His brain was thinking rapidly. His flesh and blood body was a disadvantage, and his ability was also inclined to concealed sneak attacks. This was also the reason why he had been hiding himself and choosing the dirty tactics. But he also understood, even if he didn't encounter such a situation today, he would encounter it sooner or later. Confronting the bastions head on is a compulsory course. Lin Qun was hiding in a street corner on one side. Under the powerful firepower, the wall behind him was penetrated, the wall collapsed, and the broken masonry structure shot like a blade, scratching his clothes and skin. If it weren't for Mario's jumping ability, he could quickly cross large distances again and again, otherwise, he would have been shot to death. But at this moment, he suddenly stopped in the alley. He thought of a way to fight. It was extremely risky, but it might be feasible. No, there is no other choice now. If he continues to be chased like this, even if he has Mario's ability, he will eventually run out of energy and be shot to death. While he still has enough energy now, let go and fight. Lin Qun is a man of action. He does it when he thinks of it. He turned around with a fierce heart. He looked up and saw a terrified human eye in a building on one side, watching him being chased by the bastions. There are survivors on these two streets, but no one dares to stand up. Whoever stands out will be killed if targeted. A 20mm machine gun can shoot a person to pieces. The deafening roar quickly approached. The airship was turning around the corner. The 4 bastions on it were extremely excited and arrogant. They were not regular bastion soldiers, and they enjoyed the pleasure of slaughtering. This kind of hunting made their blood boil. But as soon as they turned around, they were all slightly stunned, because the target did not run away, but stood there at this moment, turned around, and faced them. Then the next moment, Mario's skills were activated. Lin Qun jumped high, reaching a jumping height that humans could not reach, and rushed towards the bastion airship in a parabola. The countermeasure he thought of was very simple, sniping in the air. From low to high, he could hardly see the 4 bastions on the airship, so he couldn't use the headshot girl skill to snipe these bastions. In addition, he was moving with his back to the opponent while running, so he was in a passive state of being beaten and unable to fight back. But he could cooperate with Mario's jump. The maximum jump distance is 7.2 meters. If he jumps up facing the bastion people's airship head on, he can see the other party's body in the airship. Then, move and sniper while jumping. Just like playing a shooting game, jump in the air and flick the sniper, but he jumps at a very high height, and the sniper he flicks is his eyes. No need to kill, no need to be very accurate, just shoot whatever you see. The skill of the headshot girl is not just a simple headshot. As far as the naked eye can see, carbon-based creatures can be shot wherever they want, but headshots are the most energy saving and safe. The opponent is also flesh and blood. With the ability of his headshot girl skill, any shot will cause a lot of injuries to these bastion people. Lin Qun thought about the idea of Mario moving and sniping with high mobility under the headshot girl skill when he drew the skill card. He has not practiced it privately, but now he directly puts it into actual combat. and just running all the way, he probably has an understanding of the performance of this airship. It looks exaggerated, but in fact, its maximum flying height is only about 11 or 12 meters. It cannot be too fast to move in the city group. Relying on the super high jumping height of jumping ability, there is a chance. Lin Qun's first attempt was successful. He jumped and directly passed by the front of the airship and jumped behind them. During the high altitude jump, he glanced and instantly activated his ability, directly blasting the hand of the first Bakatan who raised a gun to him. Seeing that Lin Qun not only did not run away, but rushed towards them, the Bakatans thought that Lin Qun was desperate. The Bakatan in the front raised his gun and shot Lin Qun to death. Unexpectedly, it could not feel its arm before it fired. Plasma splashed and screamed, and these Bakatans were all shocked. They did not expect that this human had the ability to fight back, but they were also murderers. They forced the airship to turn around at the first time and continued to chase and attack. The remaining few Bakatans turned their guns and chased Lin Qun and fired wildly. Lin Qun had already passed through the air, falling to another direction in an unscientific parabola. He didn't have the ability to float or double jump, so he passed by, and after launching the skill a glimpse, he would fall to the ground due to inertia. But this success gave him hope, the hope of killing these Bakatans. This trick of sniping in the air worked. Chapter 16 Amazing. Lin Qun succeeded in his first aerial sniping attempt and immediately tried a second one. This time he simply didn't run, but just jumped around the airship on the ground. At the same time, he activated his abilities crazily. Although the caliber of the airship's machine gun was amazing, it was located below the airship. It was okay to strafe the ground, but as soon as Lin Qun jumped up, it would be difficult for it to track him, which created an opportunity for Lin Qun. Of course, Lin Qun was moving in a parabola at a high position in the air, and the airship's machine gun couldn't keep up with him. But for those Bakatans, if Lin Qun used Mario's ability to jump far away, he might not be able to keep up, but if he jumped directly at them, he would be a live target. With the muzzle raised, they would have the opportunity to aim at the oncoming Lin Qun, which was as simple as waiting for a rabbit by a tree. This was also the reason why they thought Lin Qun was looking for death when he suddenly rushed towards them before. It was also because of this that the risk was too great before, and Lin Qun had never dared to try it, and was forced to take the risk here. But after the first attempt, Lin Qun found that his previous worries were completely unnecessary. He had a way to solve this problem and prevent the Bakatans from firing in time at him who was in the air and could not evade. That was to suppress with more powerful firepower. Attack is the best defense. No matter how fast the Bakatans' guns were, they were not as fast as Lin Qun's eyes. As soon as they turned their guns, Lin Qun's eyes had already fallen on their gun-holding arms. Before they pulled the trigger, a terrifying blood hole had already exploded in their gun-holding hands or bodies. They could not kill them instantly with a headshot, but they could be blown to pieces. They had no ability to fire at Lin Qun, who could not evade in the air. Sure enough, only practice can tell whether it is feasible. Flying again and again, trying again and again. At the beginning, Lin Qun was more evasive because his flesh and blood body could not withstand even a bullet, but after becoming proficient, he took every step carefully, gradually turned defense into offense, turned into an aerial flying man, and in the fight, frantically flipped the sniper in the air. It was difficult for Lin Qun to aim at high speed, but he blew up whatever he saw. After a few jumps, he blew up 2 of the 4 Bakatans alive. The accuracy was gradually improved. When he jumped again, they had no idea how Lin Qun would detonate their bodies, so they dared not shoot and tried their best to avoid. They almost collapsed. What kind of ability is this? Where is he? Hit him. Ah, my leg was blown off. He was too fast. He jumped around. He was too flexible. Run. So, after a brief entanglement and strangulation, the situation took a jaw-dropping turn. The 4 Bakatans were so scared that they drove the airship and turned around and ran. Lin Qun made a parabolic extreme vertical leap behind him. With the help of the height of the scrapped vehicles on the ground, he could jump up to more than 8 or 9 meters. The 4 Bakatan armed men were so scared that they turned around and ran away in the airship. Lin Qun gulped down a bottle of energy recovery potion that he had just exchanged. He chased after them relentlessly. I'll take advantage of your weakness. The feud has already been made. Who knows if these Bakatans will call for help? Lin Qun wants to kill them all here. At this time, Jiang Bin had already approached quickly with his men. They heard the gunshots and shouting here, and once thought that the Bakatans had exchanged fire with their people. They rushed over anxiously to reinforce, but unexpectedly, they saw a shocking scene. A man with a ZHU Beiji toy mask was jumping parabolically on the street like a flea, chasing the target airship that they had carefully followed before in a funny but mysterious manner. Funny, because Lin Qun's jumping posture violated the laws of physics, and there was a sense of disharmony that an Anin character invaded reality. Unexpectedly, he was alone, chasing the Bakatans who were chasing an airship cruelly and fleeing in panic, crying for their parents. Wan Deshan rubbed his eyes. Am I seeing things? There is a ZHU Beiji flying in the sky chasing the Bakatan people's airship. You are not seeing things. That person doesn't even have a gun in his hand. He jumps around. How can he kill these Bakatan people and make them flee? Jiang Bin was also surprised and said in a deep voice, this person is not one of us. He is a civilian. How can a civilian have such a master? From this angle, they can't see the high position. They can only see Lin Qun jumping wildly on the ground. The Bakatan people's airship flew at the maximum altitude of more than 10 meters. From this angle, they naturally can't see the blood of the Bakatan people exploding in the airship when Lin Qun leaped again and again. They just felt incredible. It's even more incomprehensible. How can a group of Bakatan thugs be killed like this just by jumping around? You know, Jiang Bin and his men have discovered this group of Bakatan thugs for some time and have been following them. Knowing that they are strong, they have been cautiously looking for opportunities to call for reinforcement. The existing information shows that everyone has only awakened one talent, that is, only one ability, so they could never imagine that Lin Qun, who has the ability to jump, has another superpower of killing with a blink. Therefore, it is naturally incredible that such a group of brutal Bakatans, who they have to be cautious about as a class, were killed by the devil jump of the ZHU Beiji masked man who does not seem to be aggressive at all. This is like defeating Thanos with a dance battle. Maybe, his ability also has some attack effects that we don't understand. Wan Deshan whispered, or did we make a wrong judgment on this group of Bakatans before? They are actually strong on the outside, but weak on the inside. The Bakatans are all soldiers. They should have survived many civilization wars. The first batch of Bakatans who can land in our world can never be weak, even if they are irregular troops. That person is definitely a master with special abilities. We can't let him die. Follow him and cover him. Wan Deshan also said, we are in need of people now, and the higher-ups are also recruiting capable civilians. If we can get this person to join the military, it would definitely be a good thing. Jiang Bin quickly switched from hiding to attacking actively, with military vehicles chasing after them. Jiang Bin personally set up the anti-tank gun and fired a blast, hitting directly. At this time, 2 of the Bakatans on the airship had already been killed by Lin Qun, and the remaining 2 were half crippled. Their attention was all on Lin Qun behind them, and they didn't notice the attack from the human army at all. A huge ball of fire flickered in the air. Lin Qun shot the last Bakatan in the head and landed steadily. The wreckage of the airship fell in the middle of the road, blocking Lin Qun and the military team on both sides. Lin Qun panted violently. He killed 3 of the 4 Bakatans, and 1 was killed by the explosion. Just now, during the chase, Lin Qun drank 2 bottles of energy recovery potions to ensure that he had enough energy. Therefore, after a lot of killing, he only had 3 contribution points in his account. He had 8 energy points left, but he gained 250 experience points. In the regional ranking, Lin Qun's total contribution points rose again. What surprised Lin Qun was that he even went one step further this time and stood at the 3rd place. In front of him was King and Chun, whose total contribution points far exceeded his. If he could maintain the 3rd place before today's settlement, then he could get a reward of 10 contribution points. 4 more contribution points than the 4th place. That was equivalent to 4 Bakatans and a precious card drawing opportunity. This was definitely a pleasant surprise. What made Lin Qun even more excited was that his aerial sniping was successfully developed, and after today's training, it was already a small success. And this combination skill is extremely practical in actual combat, which is enough to greatly improve his survivability. At this time, the last sunset on the horizon was being swallowed by darkness. Lin Qun, who had been using Mario skills and had consumed a lot of physical energy, raised his head with some panting and saw the military soldiers on the opposite side. He had already noticed the missile that shot down the airship. The road was blocked by the wreckage of the airship. Lin Qun couldn't get through, and they couldn't get through for the time being. At this time, a marching sound suddenly sounded on the other side of the street. The scouts on Jiangbin's side ran over urgently. Squad leader, we found 15 Bakatans approaching us from the east. They are carrying heavy weapons and vehicles. Jiangbin's face changed. Lin Qun's face also changed when he heard it from afar. They made quite a commotion here, and it was impossible that no one from the Bakatans would come. Jiangbin knew that he had to retreat. He took a deep look at Lin Qun on the other side of the fire and said loudly, "What's your name? How can I find you?" Lin Qun was stunned for a moment, and his heart moved. While retreating, he raised his voice, "I'm Lizing. Lang Cheng Daijing." Watching Lin Qun's figure disappear, Jiangbin whispered, "Lizing, I remember you. Building number 5, Lang Cheng Daijing Community." Lizing woke up from his sleep and sneezed violently, shaking the whole world. Chapter 17, Exchange Shotgun. Night fell. The silence that had been maintained in Lang Cheng Daijing community for a whole day was being broken. Inside the community, intermittent gunshots and howls from humans or Bakatans could be heard outside. The appearance of Jiangbin's troops was not accidental. In one day, the Bakatans had spread almost all over the city, and the human military was also spreading throughout the city. Several troops had arrived in the nearby area, but their arrival also brought a large number of Bakatans. Lin Qun's route, which took him a little longer to return to Lang Cheng Daijing community, was faster. He firmly ranked third. The survivors at the entrance of the community had long disappeared, but there were more survivors active in the community. For a longer period of time, there would always be brave people who were unwilling to hide in the room all the time. The truth that everyone can understand is, you can hide for a while, but you can't hide forever. Lin Qun returned to the community, but did not go upstairs. He put away the ZHU Beiji mask and rested on the bench downstairs. Night is more favorable for the Bakatans, but it is also true for Lin Qun. It's just that his physical energy was severely depleted, and his energy was running low, so he needed some time to recover. He wanted to continue hunting as soon as he recovered, earn more contribution points and secure the third place in the East City District war zone. Although he succeeded in counter-killing today, it made Lin Qun feel a sense of crisis. Only by becoming stronger can he not counter-kill without any danger, but no one can threaten his life. That's why he didn't go upstairs, and was ready to return to the battlefield at any time. During this process, he kept alert, while browsing the contribution point mall. The things here are mainly weapons, and there are a lot of them. 1 contribution point can be exchanged for pistols, titanium alloy daggers, machetes, etc. and 2 contribution points can be exchanged for shotguns and rifles. And 3 contribution points can be exchanged for small caliber rocket launchers. Lin Qun held 3 contribution points and drooled over the rocket launcher for a while. In the end, he chose to exchange for a shotgun. 2 contribution points are exchanged for shotguns, and 1 contribution point buys 10 shotgun bullets. Just like the energy recovery potion, after the purchase option materialized, a black light flashed, and a heavy shotgun appeared in Lin Qun's hand. With 3 contribution points, he didn't have enough cards to draw, so Lin Qun wanted to convert them into self-protection abilities in time. The shotgun was the best choice. It could be used as a substitute when he ran out of energy, and it could kill people when he advanced. This shotgun was semi-automatic and could be loaded with up to 5 bullets, which was a perfect complement to the headshot girl's ability. He took off his coat, wrapped the gun, and carried it on his back. The community was dark and shadowy. Everyone had their own purpose in running downstairs despite the smell of blood and danger. No one talked, and no one noticed Lin Qun here. He sat there for 7 or 8 minutes and heard a scream from the depths of the community. It was a Bacatan who had climbed over the back gate of the community. He was a lone ranger and happened to be met by a fat survivor behind him. When Lin Qun moved in this direction, the survivors in the shadows of the community were all running back. To them, the Bacatans were a symbol of nightmare. But only one person was walking against the flow in the darkness. Lin Qun approached and showed his gun. This was his first time to test the gun. The dull sound of gunfire echoed in the community. Lin Qun was already a qualified Voldemort. With the help of the darkness and his familiarity with the community, the Bacatan did not notice him until the second, before he fired the gun, until the shotgun spurted out the flames. The reaction force was a bit large. When Lin Qun fired the gun, he aimed at the head, but actually missed. Fortunately, the shotgun had a high tolerance rate. This shot also hit the lone Bacatan's body backwards, leaving a bloody hole on his body, and the front of his body was instantly bloody. These Bacatan armed civilians are not as powerful as their army. They wear strange clothes, but most of them are not armored. Although the accuracy is worrying, Lin Qun was excited. This is the unique pleasure of shooting. If it were a human, being sprayed by a troll like this would have left him crippled or dead, but the Bacatan was very ferocious, rushing up with a mace in his hand. Then, with a bang, the huge headless corpse fell to the ground. Lin Qun activated the headshot female skill. There were only 9 bullets left, so he just wanted to try out the gun for fun, and save the rest for when necessary. One of the reasons for choosing a shotgun is that it can be powerful without much practice of accuracy. Lin Qun doesn't have so many contribution points to waste on buying bullets. With 1 contribution point in his account, Lin Qun's 3rd place ranking became more stable. He immediately went forward to check the body of the Bacatan. This was definitely the most miserable Bacatan Lin Qun had ever seen. It didn't even have a gun. Lin Qun complained in his heart. The lone person may not be a big shot, but maybe a noob that no one wants. But at this moment, Lin Qun heard a commotion in front of the community. The dark community suddenly became bright. Lin Qun's heart moved. He wrapped up his gun and walked forward quickly. He saw that along the way, the survivors in the surrounding communities were rushing downstairs, and even Fan Wenxuan and Li Xing came out. Unlike the panic on everyone's face before, under the light at this moment, everyone's eyes lit up with the long-lost light of hope. It's the army. It's the army. The army is coming. We are saved. I said, the Federation has not given up on us. Lin Qun also recognized the troops that came at this time. It was none other than Jiang Bin and his group who had just stared at each other across the fire. They also got rid of the Bacatans and chased all the way to Longcheng Daijing community, but they needed to take a detour at their location at that time, so they were late for a while. Jiang Bin was also surprised to see at least 100 survivors upstairs and downstairs of the Dragon City Daijing building. He didn't expect there were so many people here. He stood on a high place and motioned for everyone to be quiet. He said, "Everyone be quiet. We are soldiers from the 3rd Squad of the 9th Platoon of the 6th Company of the 2nd Battalion of the 3rd Regiment of the 6th Armored Division of the Federal Magic City. I'm the squad leader Jiang Bin. We have not given up on you. Our main force is fighting with the Bacatans and is not at a disadvantage. We will do our best to protect everyone's lives and safety. I will guarantee this with my life, but we need your cooperation. I need you to stay calm and quiet. Try not to make too much noise, evade and hide according to our requirements, and if you have enough strength and are willing to help us, please stand up and help us resist the Bacatans together." The crowd was slightly agitated. So few people can protect us? They said the army is coming. I thought, how many people are coming? It's over. So few people, and they still need our strength. We are dead. Where is the main force of the army? When can we get to a safe place? Everyone be quiet. We have to trust the soldiers of the military. Jiang Bin looked at this scene, took a deep breath, and said, everyone please be calm. We are only the first troop. As far as I know, there are 2 more squads of soldiers gathering here. We have enough manpower to protect everyone's safety, but please cooperate. If you make too much noise, it is likely to attract a large number of Bacatans. Speaking of the Bacatans, it calmed people down for a short time. Jiang Bin's additional explanation seemed to be barely satisfactory. Everyone was quiet for a short time. At this time, Jiang Bin glanced around and asked directly, "You, who is Li Xing?" When these words came out, everyone was very surprised. They didn't expect that this military soldier knew their master. As soon as he arrived, everyone turned around and looked at Li Xing, the supermaster who was now known to most people in Longcheng Daijing community. But Li Xing, who became the focus, had a stiff expression and a strange look on his face. Because just now in the chaos, when everyone was running out, he was bumped by someone, and a note was stuffed in his hand. It was written on it, "If the military is looking for you, no matter what you ask, just say that you did it. If you do a good job, I will keep you alive. I will do what I say." Li Xing didn't understand. This is probably that big guy again. He wanted to cry, but had no tears. "I'm a rookie, how could I be pushed out and used as a shield?" But he was already riding a tiger and couldn't get off. He didn't dare to offend the big guy who was elusive and powerful, for fear that he would make him excited and his head would explode silently in the crowd. So, he could only stand out from the crowd with gritted teeth in the eyes of everyone. I am. Chapter 18 Li Xing's Little Thoughts. The small note that Li Xing got. It was naturally from Lin Qun. The misunderstanding had already been formed, so he simply went with the flow. The situation was uncertain, and Lin Qun didn't want to be the first to come forward. If necessary, he would naturally cooperate with the military, but he was not prepared to get deeply involved. In the doomsday era, people were in panic and crises were lurking everywhere. The risk of being the first to come forward was extremely high, and it was very likely that he would become the target of public criticism. Lin Qun was not the kind of person who wanted to be in the limelight to the point of being dizzy. Letting Li Xing take the lead to attract firepower and hatred, while he himself would do the dirty work behind the scenes. This was the safest choice. Lin Qun was going to carry out the dirty tactics to the end. Moreover, Lin Qun had no shortage of the things that Li Xing had obtained from it, and he didn't care about the so-called crowds. Li Xing had enjoyed everyone's respect and the materials that Fan Wenquan respected, and now it was his turn to be the wind-attracting tree. Li Xing can only blame himself. If he hadn't boasted about his own strength at the beginning and fooled Fan Wenquan into hiring him as a bodyguard, he wouldn't have ended up like this and been put on the stove. Although Li Xing was depressed, he actually understood this. Now that he stood up, he felt a big stone fell from his heart. Because he always knew that he was not the big boss who killed more than a dozen Bakatins in anger. No matter whether this kind of substitution was welcomed by others, his behavior was no different from robbing heads. The other party was so powerful that he could kill more than a dozen Bakatins without anyone noticing. Li Xing asked himself that, if he angered the other party, he would not be enough for the other party to kill him. He was really worried that the big boss would be angry that he replaced him and gained people's pursuit and materials, and then kill him. But now, the big boss asked him to replace him again, which at least meant that the big boss still needed him. Moreover, with the guarantee of the big boss, Li Xing felt relieved for no reason. As long as the mysterious master needs him to be the first to come forward, he should not let himself die easily. Thinking of this, Li Xing's steps became firm, and he stepped towards Jiang Bin step by step. Jiang Bin was also looking at him, and his pupils shrank. Wang Deshan whispered, "Is this the master? So young." Jiang Bin wanted to organize people to set up defenses, so he simply said a few words to Li Xing, and then asked Wang Deshan to pull Li Xing aside. At this time, Fan Wenquan also came up and handed over half a pack of cigarettes. "Deputy Platoon Leader Wang, we have been waiting for you. I'm the building manager of building number 5, and I'm with Mr. Li. I have organized a lot of people here. How do we retreat? I can also say a few words in our community. If I can help you, just tell me." He was very smart and immediately established military relations. Wang Deshan glanced at him, but did not refuse, and pulled them aside. "I really need your help. We are short of manpower, and cannot evacuate so many of you for the time being. Our current plan is to defend Longcheng Daijing. I need you to cooperate with us to organize manpower, count the people who can participate in the battle, or assist in the battle, and garrison with us. The rest of the people will be concentrated in 1 or 2 buildings for our protection." He paused and stretched out his hand to Li Xing. "Finally we meet. You are so amazing. This is the first time I have seen someone chasing the Bakatin airship to kill. What kind of talent do you have? Oh, if it is inconvenient to say, you cannot say it, but we need your strength and ask for your help. However, we will not let you do it in vain, let alone let you do anything too dangerous. We will tilt food and medical supplies for you. If you have family and friends, they will also be given priority protection. Fan Wenchuan looked at Li Xing with a strange expression. My people have been outside your door. When did you leave the community? And you happened to meet the military? Li Xing was frightened when he heard it and instinctively looked around. I wondered who this big guy was. Not only did he kill more than a dozen Bakatans, but he was also able to hunt down the Bakatans' airships single-handedly. He, a B-level talent awakener, was still trembling in his room while he was already killing like crazy. What's the difference? What kind of monster-like master is this? But Li Xing just smiled awkwardly but politely. He was a fake boss, so he could only say less and make fewer mistakes, nodding frequently. The situation was urgent, so they only had a brief chat for a while, and Wang Deshan turned around and returned to Jiangbin. Jiangbin had evacuated the survivors at this time and was preparing to build a defense line based on the 3 buildings of Building 7, Building 5 and Building 3, concentrating the survivors in this area. He said, "That Zhu Beiji, is it really him?" "Yes. Although he is young, he doesn't talk much, and he looks a bit calm. He is not an ordinary person," Wang Deshan said with certainty. Jiangbin, very good. We need him to organize a group of survivors to help us. Otherwise, with our limited manpower, it is difficult to take care of so many people. Jiangbin led his soldiers to guard and deploy defenses around, build simple fortifications, and comfort the survivors. At the same time, he has been in contact with other troops. According to them, there are 2 squads of troops gathering here. This gave the survivors in the community hope, so they cooperated very well. Fan Wenchuan took the initiative to stand up, holding the banner of the military and Li Xing, organizing the survivors to sign up for the self-defense team, and helping the military to transfer the survivors, so that these survivors can be concentrated in several selected buildings. At this time, there is no concept of home, or whose property it is. The survivors find a house and crowd in it. Some survivors are still wandering downstairs, trying to get more information about the outside world from the military. Now that information is blocked, everyone is trapped in this corner, and they are eager to know what is going on outside. No matter what information, the more the better. But unfortunately, the military is busy, and has no time to take care of these people. Lin Qun is also one of the people who did not rush upstairs. His energy has recovered a little, and he wants to see if he can catch the lone Bakatan. Time is moving towards midnight, and Lin Qun is still the 3rd in the region. He wants to stabilize it completely. He must get the 3rd place reward. Therefore, he ran out directly, but he didn't dare to go too far, and searched for a place on the edge of the community where he could attack or defend. He actually found a suspected spy, a sneaky Bakatan, who seemed to want to spy on the situation inside Longcheng Daijing community. However, there are people who are more familiar with the environment of the community than it, and more wretched. It squatted there, and thought it was hidden well, but it didn't notice a figure approaching quietly. One hit kill. The headless corpse spurted blood, and fell to the ground. As a person who can always get 2nd place in chicken, Lin Qun is quite talented in this aspect. 50 experience points, and 1 contribution point are credited. Chapter 19 New card types. 2 streets away from Longcheng Daijing community, the sunken airship was still on fire, but at this moment, it was surrounded by Bakatans. Their huge bodies looked even more ferocious and terrifying in the firelight. At this time, they retreated to both sides, somewhat respectfully making way. A strange Bakatan slowly floated over. Its feet were off the ground, and its spider legs were folded up like meditation, floating in the air, silently, but exuding a frightening and powerful feeling from its bones. The surrounding Bakatans were like children in front of it. After a moment, a Bakatan whispered, "Lord Carl, great telekinetic master, we have confirmed that there is a human settlement ahead, with at least hundreds of humans in it, and the other 2 human armies carrying a large number of human civilians, that we are watching, are also gathering there. Very good, these human lives will become the wealth of our Bakatans." The global battlefield is about to begin, and it is very likely that advanced civilizations will intrude into our blockade zone. Before that, we must obtain as many contribution points as possible and gain a foothold here, so that we can steadily harvest tens of millions of humans in this city. Remember, we are not only fighting for ourselves, but also for our civilization. Lord Cowl's voice was low, but it was as cold as hell. Gather our manpower around us. In my name, we will catch them all in one fell swoop. The surrounding Bakatans all lowered their heads and obeyed this skinny looking Bakatan. At the same time, near the Daijing community in Lancheng, having killed one right after coming out, Lin Qun was a little excited. He wanted to make further efforts, but he didn't expect that the Bakatan spy was the last Bakatan he found nearby. He wandered around like a ghost in the night, but didn't find any other Bakatans. He knew that it was no longer safe outside at this moment. There were a large number of Bakatans gathering, and Lin Qun's energy was only maintained at about half. In the end, he could only give up temporarily and retreat back to the depths of the community. In the community, most of the survivors had been dispersed and transported to several buildings. There were much fewer survivors downstairs, but Fan Wenchuan and his team really formed a team of survivors. Lin Qun glanced and saw the tall elite girl Chu Yaowei. Li Xing was talking to her eagerly. But unfortunately, the girl with amazing physique was not interested in this master who was famous in the community and was very cold. He passed by here and no one cared about him. Fan Wenchuan only thought he was a weak chicken who overestimated his own abilities, so how could he recruit him? Lin Qun was pleased to see this, and after just a glance, he hurried upstairs. There were no monsters to kill, so he prepared to take the time to rest, recover his energy, and stay in the strongest combat state. At this time, there were more people in building number 5 where he lived than before. However, in order to facilitate escape, everyone basically concentrated on the first, second, and third floors. Lin Qun's 7th floor was even more deserted than before, and no one came to rob his room. When going upstairs, he noticed a look in the crowd. It was Zhao Wen. The girl's eyes were inquiring. Lin Qun looked at her, said nothing, went straight upstairs, and then fell on the bed and fell asleep. This was not because he was sleepy, but because of energy consumption. He was naturally sleepy and fell asleep while thinking. But he didn't sleep for long and was awakened by the sound downstairs. It seemed that Jiang Bin and his men had exchanged fire with the Bakatans. But when Lin Qun came to the window, the exchange of fire had ended, and the number of Bakatans was small, and they retreated quickly. This was a test. The Bakatans had discovered this place and were gathering. The two main forces of civilizations were engaged in a large-scale confrontation at the far end of the magic city, while here, the small-scale human army and the Bakatans were also brewing a terrible collision. But Lin Qun's eyes were attracted by the flashing text in front of him. The countdown to the complete opening of the global battlefield was almost over, and below that, a row of new text emerged. Yesterday's ranking has been locked. Congratulations, Yang. You are ranked 3rd in the regional ranking Modu Warzone Lancheng District Warzone. Award 10 civilization contribution points. Unknowingly, the time has passed 12 o'clock and the settlement is completed. At this moment, Lin Qun is still ranked 3rd in the Dongcheng district ranking, which is very conspicuous. Although the settlement has been completed, the contribution point data will not be reset, and those 10 contribution points have been received. Looking at the number, Lin Qun felt a strange feeling of getting something for nothing. These 10 contribution points are simply free. If he could get 1st or 2nd place in the region, he could get 50 or 30 contribution points after settlement. If he could get a high ranking in a larger region, this number could even double. Every 10 contribution points would give him a chance to draw a lottery. If he had enough contribution points, he could also upgrade his card drawing skill. Lin Qun was very tempted. 10 contribution points, directly exchange for a chance to draw a card. Draw a card. Soon, a card emerged. Drawing on it was a yellow bag. There was also a Taoist bagua. What is this? Lin Qun's eyes moved, and he soon showed a look of surprise. Name, Kyankan bag. Type, item card grade, F level. Description: use this item card to obtain an F-level Kyankan bag, which contains a 1*1*1 cubic meter space, which can be opened or closed by mental power, to store and retrieve items. Do you want to materialize? Materialize. What Lin Qun didn't expect was that he could also draw something from the world of cultivation. This is a storage treasure. Although it has no attack power, and the space is not large, it can solve Lin Qun's carrying problem. His guns and supplies can be completely loaded into it, and carried with him. Not only can he travel light, but it also has unexpected effects. This is exactly what Lin Qun urgently needs. After it was materialized, Lin Qun quickly became familiar with the operation and application of this thing. He tied this palm-sized Kyankan bag around his waist, and stuffed all the important supplies and shotguns in the house into it. It was full. Lin Qun thought of more. He could draw out something from the world of immortal cultivation. If he could draw out some talismans or peerless skills, wouldn't he be able to use magic to ride on his face? However, he just had to make sure that he didn't grow red hair all over his body and lose his mind. Moreover, this was the first time that Lin Qun drew out a card of the item card type. Skill cards, item cards. What other types are there? Lin Qun was looking forward to it, but he suddenly felt a vibration and a terrifying loud noise. It seemed that a terrifying explosion had occurred in the community. Half of the community was illuminated. The glass in his kitchen was shattered, and the glass in his bedroom had a terrible crack. Lin Qun stood up. Are the Bastions attacking? Chapter 20 Level 5. A huge ball of fire rose from the ground. The whole community was awakened. It was a group of Bastions who launched an attack. This was not a regular army, but a group of Bastion armed thugs. They drove a cyberpunk-style chariot and fired a rocket launcher, which directly detonated Jiangbin's military vehicle. The fire and explosion came from this. Jiangbin and others quickly entered the combat state, relying on the simple fortifications they had initially built on the ground, and fiercely exchanged fire with the group of Bastions. Outside the community, there were also intensive gunshots. The whole community seemed to be bathed in war. At this moment, the number of Bastions who appeared in Lin Qun's field of vision alone exceeded the total number of Bastions he had seen before. The people in the community were panicked, but Lin Qun put on his clothes and went downstairs. He naturally wanted to go downstairs to hunt the Bastions. Now that the military was resisting head-on, it was the best opportunity for him to do something dirty. While going downstairs, Lin Qun realized that this exchange of fire was not accidental. It was another squad mentioned by Jiangbin who came over. They brought a large number of survivors, but they were also killed by a group of Bastions. The two sides exchanged fire fiercely inside and outside the community. However, after going downstairs, Lin Qun found that Jiangbin did not activate the survivors' self-defense team that Li Xing and others had just formed. Jiangbin only asked them to defend the entrance of the community building, while he led his soldiers to move forward quickly and exchange fire with the Bastions as far away from the community area where there were survivors as possible. When Lin Qun came down, there were gunshots outside. A tall survivor who was guarding the entrance of the community and was also a member of the self-defense team was shocked to see Lin Qun going out. Are you crazy? It's like this outside. You're looking for death if you go out. Lin Qun did not answer and walked straight out. The tall survivor was a competent one. He wanted to stop them, but was stopped by his companions. In front of Lin Qun, he said, he probably thinks he is the protagonist because he has some ability. Don't worry about him. He is looking for death. Just let him go. Brother, don't blame us for not reminding you. I hope you can come back alive. The last sentence was quite sarcastic. Obviously, everyone thought that Lin Qun was a fool who ran out to die. Lin Qun didn't say a word and hurried out. What a joke. If I go too late and there is nothing to kill, it will be terrible. He has planned the route to go forward. He was quickly cutting into the chaotic battlefield along the flower bed to cover his body. At this time, the arrogant Bastion chariot had been blown up and turned into a grand firework burning at the entrance of the community. With this as the center, Jiangbin and others were exchanging fire with the Bastions. There were casualties on both sides. The Bastions had no shortage of contribution points and had fierce firepower, which almost made Jiangbin unable to raise his head. Outside, there were also dense gunshots and shouts. It was obvious that another squad of soldiers was fighting with the Bakatans outside. They seemed to have brought many survivors with them, and the noise was even louder than inside the community. Lin Qun quietly observed from a relatively safe position at the back. The firepower of the Bakatans was too fierce, and the two sides were exchanging fire. If they passed through the ground like this, even if they were more concealed and could lie on the ground, they would be courting death. But Lin Qun did not intend to give up. In his eyes, these seemingly ferocious Bakatans were just walking contribution points. At this moment, the number of Bakatans inside and outside the community might even exceed 30. As long as he could hunt 10 of them, it would be a chance to win a lottery. Lin Qun was thinking quickly. He wanted to find a good position to hunt in secret. The two sides exchanged fire at the main entrance of the community, but on both sides of them were residential buildings. Wang Desheng even brought a little soldier, who was fighting for the commanding heights on the top of building number 1 on one side. Lin Qun's eyes flickered and looked at building number 2 opposite building number 1. If he could jump directly to that position, maybe he could get within 10 meters. Lin Qun did it as soon as he thought of it. He turned to the back of building number 2, jumped on the spot, and rushed directly to building number 2. Turning from the back of building number 2, he could see below through the staircase window in the corridor. Below, the Bakatans were in the upper hand. A tall Bakatan carried a 4-barreled rocket launcher on his shoulder and fired wildly, blowing Jiang Bin's people and horses to the ground. The two soldiers failed to evade in time and were almost blown to pieces in an instant. Back off. Back off. Shoot it down for me. Shoot it down. Jiang Bin's voice was just uttered when he was hit by another rocket launcher. If he hadn't evaded quickly enough, he would have followed the footsteps of the two little soldiers. His face changed instantly. These Bakatans had too much firepower. They slaughtered a large number of humans. Each of them had a large number of contribution points in their hands. They could exchange weapons in the contribution point mall at will and slaughter them in turn. However, at this moment, under Jiang Bin's bloodshot eyes, the head of the unstoppable bazooka Bakatan who was rushing in front suddenly exploded. Blood plasma splashed, and he fell to the ground with a bang. Jiang Bin was so excited that he almost jumped up. Who is it? I want to give him credit. Quick, follow up, fight back, and counter suppress. This attack was naturally launched by Lin Qun. He had found an excellent sniper position in building number 2 and directly locked the head and killed it instantly. What surprised him was that the Bakatan he just shot in the head was worth 100 experience points. 1 is worth 2. That Bakatan was actually an elite monster. No wonder he could charge with a quadruple mounted bazooka. The reaction force was something that ordinary Bakatans could not bear. However, no matter how little expert you are, if your physical fitness is less than 22 points, you will be killed instantly. And this is just the beginning. On the ground, the Bakatans and Jiang Bin's troops fought fiercely, and the Bakatans' attention was all on the human warriors. Lin Qun's position was hidden. He used his ability to snipe silently. Except for the angle of his head exploding and blood splashing, it was almost impossible to find him in the dark building number 2 by any means. It was like looking for a needle in a haystack. In such a bloodthirsty battle, who could find him? Even Jiang Bin didn't find anyone helping him in secret at the beginning. It was not until he was killing and killing that he was surprised to find that the group of Bakatans in front of them, who had just been evenly matched with them, had lost more than half of their members and were defeated all of a sudden. He realized that it seemed that someone was secretly attacking and killing Bakatans. Such people are hidden in this community. At this time, the Bakatans on the battlefield in the community no longer posed a threat and were overwhelmed by the counterattack. At the same time, on the battlefield outside the community, the third squad of troops finally arrived late, attacking from both inside and outside. Seeing this, the group of Bakatans immediately began to retreat and quickly left the battlefield. There were survivors everywhere here. The military gave priority to protecting the survivors and did not chase them. The 3 squads of soldiers successfully joined together outside the community. In the shadow of building number 2, Lin Qun was counting his achievements. He had just sniped from a high altitude, killing 6 Bakatans in total, and gained 6 contribution points. Now the total number of contribution points has reached 7. The regional ranking is still stable in 3rd place, and the gap with the 4th place behind is 7 contribution points. Of course, his energy is insufficient again, and the sage time has arrived. But this time, Lin Qun killed 6 Bakatons and gained 350 experience points. He upgraded again and successfully raised his personal level to level 5. The attributes on his panel have been improved again. Chapter 21 Tension. Name, Lin Qun level 5, 0 over 1200, Strength 12 Agility 10 Constitution 13 Stamina 6 over 20. Hint, the standard values of all the above data for ordinary people are 10. Talent, card draw bonus ability, current number of card draws remaining 0. Lin Qun's agility finally reached 10 points, reaching the human standard value. What excited him was that his constitution increased by 2 points this time. With 2 points of constitution, he can headshot an opponent with 26 points of constitution. That's 2.6 times the human standard value. With such a high number, if he encounters the Bakatons again, won't he be able to kill them at will? Lin Qun's eyes were full of excitement. He came down from building 2 and directly joined the team of survivors coming in from outside the community. The 2 new squads were also troops of the 6th Armored Division. They brought a large number of survivors, a huge crowd of more than 200 people. Bringing so many survivors was also the reason why they became the target of the Bakatons. Most of these people were rescued along the way. Lin Qun saw a sense of grayness from them. Most of them had dull faces and looked lifeless, like zombies. Lin Qun bought a house in a relatively remote location, close to the edge of the magic city, but he did not suffer a devastating blow from the Bakatons at the beginning. These people were different. The place where they lived had been almost completely destroyed by the Bakatons, and many of them had lost their loved ones. There were more than 200 people in a crowd, and there was not even much sound. The desolation and numbness were even worse than that of the Longcheng Daijing community, revealing a faint desolation of the end of the world. The military personnel did gather together, but the 3 squads were not full, and there were only more than 20 people in total. Now they had to protect more than 400 survivors. They could only follow the original plan and concentrate the survivors in several buildings for centralized protection. But from their expressions, it could be seen that the situation was not optimistic. At this time, Fan Wenchuan ran over from the front with his men to help the military welcome and accommodate these survivors. Although he didn't have a real name, he was already the steward of the entire community. He had great prestige and power among the survivors. He had connections with the military and had a master like Li Xing behind him. He also had many followers around him. It was hard not to become powerful. Lin Qun's eyes moved. He wanted to find someone to ask what the situation was like outside. The countdown in his eyes was about to end. Lin Qun had a feeling that the situation would be worse by then. He might not be able to stay in Longcheng Daijing community for long. He would eventually go deep into the center of the battlefield vortex in the magic city. Therefore, it was always good to know some of the situation in advance. The military was busy and secretive, so Lin Qun prepared to find someone among these new survivors to ask. But what he didn't expect was that before he found someone came to him first. Someone patted him on the back and said in surprise, "Lin Qun? Brother Lin, it's really you." Lin Qun turned around and saw a young man in his early 20s. The original owner's memory flashed by. "You are Li Ji." Lin Qun's eyes moved to look at a beautiful woman behind Li Ji, his expression stern. "Manager Khan?" The 2 people standing in front of Lin Qun were colleagues before the disaster. Li Ji was Lin Qun's good friend in the company. He was cheerful and enthusiastic. He was younger than Lin Qun and had graduated from college for just over a year. The other one was Khan Yingying, the department manager and their immediate boss. It seemed to be because of the memory. Lin Qun also felt familiar when he saw them. Especially Li Ji. They were very good friends when they were in the company. Lin Qun was also in a trance and felt a sense of intimacy. In such a disaster, nothing is more joyful than seeing familiar people. Li Ji even gave Lin Qun a bear hug. "Brother, you don't know how excited I was to see you in your community. I was afraid that you had. It's great that you are still alive." His joy was not fake. Lin Qun's eyes looked at the middle of the 2 people in a strange way. Li Ji and Qian Yingying were holding hands. Li Ji chuckled. Brother, Manager Qian is my girlfriend now. Lin Qun was stunned. Qian Yingying was beautiful and their leader. She had always been the object of their love and hate. He remembered that Li Ji had said before that one day he would catch Qian Yingying so that everyone could relax. Unexpectedly, he really succeeded. Li Ji was a chatterbox. When he met Lin Qun, he was very excited and said, brother, you don't know what we have been through. It's all crazy outside. Those Bakatons, they have telekinetic masters who kill people without blinking an eye. They are more powerful than those of us who have awakened talents. Telekinetic master, what is this? This was an unfamiliar term to Lin Qun. I don't know, I haven't seen it either, but it is said that they are very powerful Bakatons. They have a very high status among the Bakatons, just like the wizards in our games. One person can fight against more than a dozen Bakatons. In short, if we encounter a powerful Bakaton telekineticist, even our army will have to flee if our firepower is not enough. Li Ji's words shocked Lin Qun. He instinctively thought of the terrifying Bakaton who flew over the far end of the city that day. Bakatons, like humans, are also participating civilizations. They can be upgraded, and their abilities can be strengthened by contribution points. There are also top-level strongmen among them. One person can resist an army. Lin Qun took a deep breath and said, so, what is the situation outside now? Who has the upper hand, the military or the Bakatons? Have our reinforcement arrived? I don't know who has the upper hand, but outside, especially near the central city, there are Bakatons everywhere, and there are also top strongmen. It is said that there are dead people everywhere over there. As for reinforcement, we simply cannot have reinforcement. Li Ji came from outside and had a lot of experience and knew a lot of information. When he said this, he lowered his voice and said, this group of Bakatons landed in advance, and our magic city has been blocked. People outside can't get in, and people inside can't get out. Where can we get reinforcement? Now it's either the Bakatons kill us all, or we kill all the Bakatons, or wait until the global battlefield is completely open to see if there will be any new changes. The news that Li Ji said was almost the same as what Lin Qun had heard before. Hearing this, his heart sank and he said, is this true? Of course it's true. The soldier who followed us at the beginning, when we were escaping told me. But don't tell others. You are my brother Lin, so I told you. Li Ji whispered, now the military is blocking this news. If anyone spreads it and causes panic, something bad will happen. As he spoke, Li Ji pointed to the sky. Lin Qun could of course figure out the reason. The people in the magic city could not leave, and the reinforcement from outside could not enter. This meant that the magic city only had these few soldiers, but the cracks in the sky were always there, which meant that the Bakatons could come here continuously. As one side rises and the other side falls, no matter whether humans or Bakatons have the upper hand now, it is clear what will happen to the magic city in the end. Even with a sea of people, the Bakatons can drown the magic city. The struggle of the magic city now looks no different from a dying struggle. They are a civilized force. Even if they may have blocked and attacked other cities, we only have people from this city. Lin Qun's excitement for the successful hunt just receded like a tide. Instead, there was a bone-chilling chill. It seemed that the fate of everyone in the magic city was doomed, unless something new happened. Or, someone could fight the entire Bakaton civilization on his own. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Brother, I'll protect you. Seeing Lin Qun's uneasy face, Li Ji reached out and patted Lin Qun's shoulder, comforting him. Brother, we don't have to think too much. Anyway, the situation is like this now. Let's take it one step at a time and stay alive first. Anyway, I will try my best to survive. I will leave the magic city and go to Anshan to find my parents. Speaking of his parents far away, Li Ji's eyes flashed. That was the hope that supported him to live, and it was also the source of his courage to use his abilities to fight against the Bakatons. Then, he changed the subject and said with a smile and seriously, "And if something really happens, I will protect you." Lin Qun agreed with Li Ji's statement. Now he could survive first and then think about the future. As for the second half of this guy's sentence, Lin Qun was suspicious. Li Ji looked around, chuckled and said, "Brother, do you know what level I'm now? Personal level." Seeing his mysterious look, Lin Qun felt that this guy might be a master who had awakened high level abilities. Lin Qun thought to himself that he was ranked 3rd in the region at level 5, and Li Ji obviously couldn't be the 1st or 2nd. No, maybe he is a hidden talent who has not registered on the list. Lin Qun was still thinking here, but Li Ji couldn't help it and said, I'm level 3 now. I have killed several Bakatons, and our DC area ranking is ranked 16th. Qian Yingyi behind him also said, Li Ji is very powerful, his awakened talent is C level, and he has killed 6 Bakatons. It is estimated that there are not many people in the entire DC area who can reach level 3 now. Li Ji also looked very excited and said, Manager Qian has spoken, you should believe it, right? As he said that, he changed the subject and said, brother, how about you? Have you killed any Bakatons? I tell you, this personal level upgrade can also improve physical attributes. My current strength is 11 points higher than the average level, absolutely inhuman level. Seeing his excitement, Lin Qun looked at his current level 5, strength 13, and the regional ranking far ahead of 4th and other panel data, and fell silent. In the end, he still couldn't bear to hit Li Ji, and said, I barely killed a Bakaton, not as good as you. It's okay, brother, you always protected me and the company before, now it's my turn to protect you. Li Ji's eyes flashed, don't be depressed, as long as you can live, it's better than anything else. He mistakenly thought that Lin Qun's silence was a psychological gap. After all, when he was in the company before, Lin Qun took him everywhere. But Lin Qun knew Li Ji. What he said now, although a little ostentatious, is also his true words. He really wants to protect himself. Thinking of those memories with Li Ji as a bystander, Lin Qun took a deep breath, patted Li Ji on the shoulder, and said, then I'll rely on you. Li Ji also brought a lot of news to Lin Qun. Only half of the 6th Armored Division is in the DC area, and the main force is in the Midtown battlefield, which makes the surrounding federal troops so scarce. Li Ji is still the same. He has no reservations about Lin Qun, and took the initiative to tell him about his talent. His ability is to rub lightning with his bare hands. This powerful offensive talent is the key to his ability to kill 6 Bakatons. And they have been following the military all the way. Li Ji also asked about Lin Qun's ability. So far, Lin Qun has never seen anyone with 2 abilities. He hesitated and only said that he has mastered the super jumping ability and can jump 7 meters high. Li Ji said, brother, your ability is awesome, but it seems that you don't have much combat power. Lin Qun just smiled. Li Ji thought about it and said, in fact, compared with these Bakatons, don't you think that this civilization hegemony that is sweeping the world is more terrifying? What kind of power can lead such an event? There is also the contribution point mall, the power that is above countless civilizations. Compared with it, we are as small as ants. Lin Qun also thought about what Li Ji said. Why is it Blue Star? What is the significance of the competition among civilizations? But the answers to all these are unknown. Behind the bloody and crazy competition among civilizations, there seems to be an unclear shadow of terror that dominates the occurrence of all this. This world is becoming unfamiliar. Lin Qun said solemnly, perhaps, only when we become strong can we uncover the answers to all this. While they were talking, they had returned to the depths of the community. The squad leaders of the 3 squads discussed and decided to settle the survivors first. Jiang Bin continued to stand up, hoping that the survivors would take the initiative to join the defense of the community. Li Ji volunteered to join the self-defense team. His personality was enthusiastic, and Lin Qun was not surprised by his choice. He was curious about how Li Ji had taken down Qian Yingyi. Qian Yingyi didn't say much along the way, and followed Li Ji like a little bird, not looking like a little leader in the past. But this was a private matter between the 2 of them, and Lin Qun was not convenient to ask. Li Ji and Qian Yingyi acted together and quickly ran to Jiang Bin to report. The doomsday is raging, and there are cold-blooded and selfish survivors, but there is also no lack of enthusiasm and kindness. Jiang Bin really called on a group of people, including several people who were at the top of the list, and they were all enlisted in the self-defense team. They also distributed supplies and firearms to these people. This was a preferential treatment in cooperation with the military. The other survivors were quickly driven upstairs. Jiang Bin shouted downstairs, "Everyone, gather in these buildings to hide. The Bakatans have not been defeated by us. They are about to attack." Lin Qun saw the military's unmanned reconnaissance aircraft circling back in the crowd. He realized that after these 2 rounds of small confrontations, the real attack of the Bakatans was about to begin. On the ground, a large number of soldiers surged and began to deploy defenses to prepare for the bloody battle that might come. In the buildings, not every survivor could realize the coming storm. Many people thought that they were safe for a short time. The equally embarrassed survivors and closed rooms around them gave them a false sense of security. Others were discussing the contribution point mall and regional rankings. People with contribution points, even those with only 1 contribution point, were the focus of everyone's envy. That not only meant the merit of having killed a Bakatan, but also the opportunity to exchange weapons in the contribution point mall. It's nothing for me. I was lucky enough to kill a Bakatan. The really amazing ones have to be those in the top 10 of the list, especially the top 3 guys, who are simply beasts. The third one has more than 30 contribution points. I wish I could have so many contribution points. Many survivors are in a vicious circle. Without combat effectiveness, they cannot defeat the Bakatans, and they cannot obtain contribution points. Without contribution points, they cannot improve their talents, personal levels, or exchange weapons, let alone improve their combat effectiveness. Lin Qun noticed that Yang Lin, the fitness man in the community who claimed to have a D-level talent, also joined the self-defense force formed by the military. The fitness man did not join at first. His motivation was completely different from Li Ji, who wanted to help. He stood up after listening to the new survivors talking about the various benefits of their contribution points. He was jealous and wanted to get contribution points, so he stood up. As the initial panic subsided, people realized the huge benefits of the contribution points obtained from confrontation and killing. Anyone with a little ability and brains would no longer sit and wait for death. Even if it was risky, they would find a way to get more contribution points. Fighting in conjunction with the military is undoubtedly the least risky way to confront the Bakatans head-on. Lin Qun believed that after a while, these people would spontaneously take action and hunt the Bakatans without even the military's call. The capable ones would go it alone, while the incapable ones would form teams. Human adaptability is one of the most powerful characteristics of human beings. Lin Qun observed all this silently. He wandered for a while and finally returned to his home. When he passed by the entrance of the building, he also saw the 2 people who had stopped him. They all looked as if they had seen a ghost. They didn't expect that Lin Qun would go out to seek death and come back completely intact. The tall man said, You really went to kill the Bakatans? Of course, I was lucky and picked up a head. I'm also a person with contribution points. Lin Qun's words made the 2 people look at each other, and they were a little envious. Before Lin Qun had gone far, the person behind him who had not stopped Lin Qun before said with some envy, He can pick up leaks. Next time we will also push up 1 contribution point. You can even exchange it for a gun in the mall. If I had 1 contribution point. Lin Qun laughed and went upstairs to his home. He ate something casually and went to sleep. Regain your strength, recover your energy, and wait for the war that may break out at any time. For Lin Qun, it is also an opportunity to gain contribution points. Before being forced to leave Longcheng Daijing community, the stronger he becomes, the better. Now, he has reached level 5 and has 8 contribution points. He looks forward to the day when he can meet gods and kill gods with higher levels and improved physique, and he looks forward to the day when he can draw more powerful cards. Thinking of those world-destroying fantasy skills and items in the world before he crossed over, Lin Qun believes it. Maybe at that time, it will be possible to massacre a civilization single-handedly. Chapter 23 It found me. The Bakatans launched an attack in the second half of the night. Lin Qun slept lightly and opened his eyes immediately. At this time, the countdown in his pupils was almost over. There was not much time left before the global civilization war officially began. In the vicinity, the sound of gunfire was deafening. The soldiers of the military formed a triangular defense position with their backs against building number 3, building number 5, and building number 7, set up a large amount of heavy firepower, and opened fire crazily the moment the Bastions launched the attack. However, it was the darkest time of the day at this time, and the light in the community was not obvious. Looking down from the 7th floor, Lin Qun saw more of the flashes of fire from the missiles of guns far and near. Occasionally, he could catch a glimpse of the Bastions under the fire, but judging from the situation, their number was quite large, and the 3 buildings were all surrounded by them. At least hundreds. This was a terrifying number. They were not the regular army of the Bastions, but a group of spontaneously organized Bastion armed thugs. The weapons and clothing were varied, but they were all murderers. Therefore, they did not have any heavy aircraft. Only in Lin Qun's naked eyes, at the entrance of Longcheng Daijing community, there were 2 Bastion airships similar to the ones he had encountered before, which were quickly entering the battlefield. Lin Qun glanced, and quickly went downstairs. This time, the Bastions launched a full-scale attack, which was quite stressful. The military directly activated the survivors' self-defense team. Those with long-range attack capabilities can directly attack with their abilities, and those without them can issue weapons and fire at will. The military's weapons and ammunition can also be replenished in the contribution point mall. As long as they can successfully kill alien civilization creatures, they don't have to worry about running out of bullets. Lin Qun also saw the figure of Li Ji. This guy can really rub mines with both hands, and suddenly split a small arc of electricity, but the power is not small. Once it hits, it can directly explode through the Bastions. This kid has made a difference. Qian Yingying also followed him, holding the pistol issued by the military, and fired randomly into the darkness. This was a chaotic exchange of fire. Both sides did not seek any accuracy, and poured firepower on each other crazily in the dark. Li Xing was also pulled to the front line, led by Wang Deshan himself. Wang Deshan stared at the darkness in front of him with a nervous expression and said, "Li Xing, don't jump out in a hurry. It's not time for you to make a move yet." Wang Deshan thought that Li Xing's ability was to jump out and attack. Li Xing was confused. Am I crazy to jump out in this situation? His eyes wandered. Big brother, where are you? Because he was identified as a master, he was brought to the forefront of the battlefield by Wang Deshan. But what Li Xing didn't know was that the master he was looking for had actually quietly stood in the corner of the battlefield. Moreover, he was near him. Lin Qun's skills can only be activated 10 meters away. Therefore, he had to move to the front of the battlefield. He also noticed Li Xing's position, and with a move in his heart, he came directly here. And this time, his position was extremely tricky. He jumped onto the street lamp pole in the community. Standing completely high on the battlefield, he almost merged with the surrounding darkness. The battle below was a mess, and Lin Qun's position was completely inconspicuous. No one could have imagined that someone would quietly stand on the street light in this situation. And this is exactly what Lin Qun wanted. At close range, the ability was activated, and with a bang, he began to shoot crazily. After a nap, his energy was already full of 20 points. He could use the headshot skill up to 9 times. In addition, he could exchange for energy recovery drugs. His position was hidden, just like a roll call. Soon, all the Bastions in the front were killed. With the military to attract attention, he was completely hidden, and could slaughter crazily. Wang Deshan was surprised, because he noticed that many Bastions did not die under their guns at all, but died from strange headshots. And they died very quickly. They could not be killed so quickly, even if they stood in a row and were shot. In just a moment, the pressure here dropped sharply. What's going on? Until the skinny man on the side excitedly pulled Li Xing. Boss, you are too strong. Is this your ability? Wang Deshan looked at Li Xing in surprise and finally reacted. It turns out that Li Xing's ability is to jump and attack. He can launch it without jumping. No wonder he can chase the Bastions who are fleeing for their lives on an airship. But this ability is too terrifying. Wang Deshan has seen many survivors along the way, and some are powerful, but he has never seen such a terrifying ability. In less than a few minutes, he killed 9 Bakatons in a row, almost killing all the enemies in their direction. Moreover, if the skinny man didn't say it, he wouldn't know that it was Li Xing who made the move, which means that Li Xing made the move silently. What kind of terrifying ability is this? Facing Wang Desheng's eyes that looked like he had seen a ghost, Li Xing also laughed dryly. Yes, it's me. Sorry to make fun of me. In fact, his thoughts were the same as Wang Desheng's. That big guy is even more powerful. What kind of terrifying ability is this? Where is that big guy? However, the crazy slaughter here seemed to instantly attract the attention of the Bakatons on the entire battlefield. The 2 airships turned around and flew over here. 2 heavy machine guns opened fire. Wang Desheng and others were suppressed in an instant. Wang Desheng was quick-witted and pressed Li Xing's head, who had not reacted, into the bunker they had piled up. If he was only 1 step slower, Li Xing's head would have been shot off. The 2 airships were flying through the battlefield, forcing their way in this direction in the dense firepower. Wang Desheng and his men were suppressed and couldn't raise their heads. They roared, "Li Xing, take action and kill their pilots." Bullets flew over his scalp in pieces, and Li Xing's soul was surging. He shouted in his heart, "Boss, you're going to kill their pilots." Lin Qun thought so too. He wanted to kill the pilots of the 2 airships first. He was at a high enough height to see, and he could. But Lin Qun suddenly felt an unimaginable chill, which spread all the way from his spine like a premonition, making him feel cold all over. He instinctively looked behind the Bakaton, in a shadow as dark as where he was. That was the top floor of building number 1 at the entrance of the community. And there, a ghostly shadow slowly floated out. It was a skinny Bakaton who could hang in the air without the help of any equipment. It was sitting cross-legged in the air, floating like a ghost, and it was not wearing any armor or carrying any weapons. It was only wearing a linen robe with a disgusting monster-like face exposed. Its 4 eyes were crossing the battlefield, staring at Lin Qun on the street lamp here. No one on the entire battlefield noticed Lin Qun, but it stared at Lin Qun to death. The term that Li Ji had mentioned. It instantly appeared in Lin Qun's mind. It's a Bakaton telekinetic master. At this time. Telekinetic master. It's a Bakaton telekinetic master. What is it looking at? Damn it, shoot it. On the ground, Jiang Bin was leading people to help Wang Desheng, but at this moment, he saw the floating Bakaton appear. His face turned pale instantly, and he raised the rocket launcher in an emergency roar, and fired a shot directly at it. He didn't even care about Wang Desheng, who was suppressed, and could be shot to death at any time. In fact, at this moment, Jiang Bin's roar and shouting were even mixed with a trace of fear. Bakaton telekinetic master. They had encountered it before. At that time, Jiang Bin was still acting with the company. They had a tank, 3 infantry fighting vehicles, abundant firepower, and were invincible. Until they met the Bakaton telekinetic master. A glance crushed their tank. The entire company was destroyed alive. The Bakaton telekinetic master is at least level 7, with terrifying powers such as mind control and spiritual perception. He didn't know how powerful this telekinetic master was, but the appearance of the Bakaton telekinetic master would bring about a huge change in today's battle. He must be taken down as soon as possible. However, the rocket launcher flew at high speed, but it stopped abruptly in mid-air, as if it was caught by an invisible hand, and then collapsed, twisted, and exploded. The flames illuminated the area above the community. The figure of the telekinetic master was reflected like a demon crawling out of hell, and its eyes, from beginning to end, were only locked on Lin Qun. The murderous intent was sinister, and Lin Qun was also staring at it. Headshot. Headshot. Headshot quickly. Chapter 24 Extreme Card Draw. Lin Qun failed. The physical fitness of this telekineticist exceeded 26 points. Lin Qun's efforts only blew up a ball of blood on the opponent's body. Maybe only a piece of flesh was blown off. The power was even worse than that of the black armored little leader before. This means that the opponent's physical fitness is far more than 26 points, at least 30 points. What kind of monster is this? The body of the Bakaton telekineticist trembled slightly, and the counterattack came in the next moment. The street lamp under Lin Qun's feet twisted and deformed instantly. He felt that the air around him was stagnant in an instant, as if there was an invisible hand that wanted to hold him in the palm of his hand. Lin Qun jumped high and jumped into the darkness on one side. The blood splashing from the telekineticist just now surprised Jiang Bin and others who were facing a great enemy. This telekineticist can solidify the bullets shot at it. Who can hurt it all at once? And Lin Qun's position just now almost coincided with Li Xing's position. He instinctively thought of Li Xing, but the telekineticist's next move made him confused again. Because the telekinetic master's body was floating, he actually moved directly to the darkness outside the battlefield at high speed. Under the control of invisible forces, the scrapped vehicles on the ground were lifted up out of thin air and smashed into the darkness. In the bursting firelight, it could be seen faintly that the telekinetic master was chasing someone. Jiang Bin was stunned for a moment. The telekinetic master appeared, but he didn't attack them, the soldiers, or the master Li Xing, but ran to chase someone unknown. Not only that, several bastion people in that direction seemed to have received the order of the telekinetic master. They suddenly changed direction, gave up the front battlefield, cooperated with the telekinetic master, and chased and intercepted the figure who fled to the dark shadows in the community. That was the order issued by the telekinetic master himself, to stop the human. A large piece of its face was blown up by Lin Qun, and it was bloody and blurred, looking more and more terrifying, but it knew that, if it was not for its powerful strength, it had already reached level 12, and it was the most powerful telekinetic master profession in bastion. It might have died from the opponent's previous attack, and it was sure that the human might not even be level 10. Endless potential. This was the first time it had seen such a human being. It was deeply shocked, and then the thought that came to its mind was, he must be killed. This human being must be killed in the seedling stage. Otherwise, I don't know how many bastions will die in his hands in the future. Even if hundreds of humans here run away, this one must be killed. On one side, 2 bastion airships and ground troops were fiercely exchanging fire with the soldiers of the other 2 squads, fighting against the federal soldiers and survivors. In this corner of the battlefield, this group of bastions decisively gave up the confrontation with Jiang Bin and others, quickly outflanked, and chased and intercepted the forest group. The humans were at a loss for a moment, and almost didn't know what happened. Only Li Xing, who had been trembling with fear just now, suddenly reacted after a moment, jumped up from his position, and said, "No, let's go help him." As he said that, he rushed out on his own regardless of Wang Deshen's obstruction. He had thought of it. The one that these bastions desperately chased must be the real boss. He was hiding in the dark and was discovered. On the battlefield, Li Xing couldn't care less. He only knew that the boss was a real master. If he died, none of them would have a good life. Jiang Bin looked at this scene, thinking, and urgently issued an order to chase after him. Everyone, no matter who that person is, the bastion people want to kill him at all costs. We want him alive. At this time, Lin Qun had already run deep into the community. He was completely suppressed by the bastion telekinetic master. The opponent was extremely powerful. The vehicles on the ground were pulled up by its telekinesis and smashed towards Lin Qun like cannonballs. Once it got close to a certain distance, it could even use telekinesis to directly affect Lin Qun's body. What's more terrifying is that it flew in the air like a ghost and bit itself tightly. Lin Qun relied on Mario's super jump to barely wander on the edge of its ability, but he was still on the verge of life and death. Those scrapped vehicles did not hit him, and the next moment they were pulled up by the telekinetic master's ability and smashed towards him. After several times of this, the vehicles were completely twisted and deformed. Every time they landed, debris splashed, and the iron sheets shot out like blades. Lin Qun was not aware of it, and was hit by a car. The whole person was knocked out, and fell to the ground. He looked down, and saw blood dripping from his right leg. If he was hit head on, it would be broken, and he would be dead on the spot. Of course, if Lin Qun had not reached level 5 and all his attributes had exceeded the human limit, this side-by-side hit would have been enough to make him drink a pot. But now, although he felt pain, his movements were almost unaffected, and he could still run. And the telekinetic master in the high place was still floating silently, with an ugly face and cold eyes, as if he was looking at a dead person. It did not give Lin Qun the opportunity to activate his ability. The moment the two people faced each other head on, a scrapped vehicle that was twisted like a hammer was thrown over. Lin Qun gritted his teeth and rolled on the ground and directly flashed into an unmanned building on the side. It was the third floor of the property management in the community. Then, there was a loud noise behind him. The scrap car smashed through the wall and came in. Smoke and dust rolled. Lin Qun fell to the stairs, panting violently, his heart pounding, and he took out a shotgun from his bag, without aiming, and swung it to shoot, and then he ran all the way to escape upstairs. He had already played all his cards. This bastion telekineticist was too terrifying. Its physique was far more than 26 points, and the difference was too big. His headshot ability could only blow off a piece of flesh from it. Was he going to die? Outside, the telekineticist was looking down from above, using telekinesis to swing two scrapped cars, smashing the building like a sledgehammer. Smoke and dust rolled, and bricks flew. It seemed to use some kind of synchronous translation device to speak human language. Looking down from above, pitying and high-handed with the victor, "You have walked into a dead end, human. Where else can you escape to?" Indeed, this building only has 3 floors. Even if he ran, where could he run to? He has been suppressed and has no way to headshot this powerful telekineticist. He just ran all the way now. But this is also a dead end. The final result can only be being smashed to death or being strangled by the opponent's telekinesis. No, there is still a chance. There is still a chance. Lin Qun's eyes moved. He just killed a lot of bastions and gained a lot of contribution points. Although he spent a lot of money on buying energy recovery potions, he still has 13 contribution points. You can draw a card. If you can draw some powerful skills, maybe you can. Outside, gunshots rang out. Jiang Bin led his men to attack and exchanged fierce fire with the bastions who were outflanking Lin Qun. He also saw the smoke-filled property building and the telekineticist in the air. The telekineticist didn't even look at them and was still bombarding the property building. Who is this person? Why did the bastion telekineticist take him so seriously? And can he hold on for so long? Lin Qun had been running deeper into the darkness, so from this angle Jiang Bin could only see the telekineticist chasing him relentlessly, but he could not see Lin Qun jumping wildly. Otherwise, he would have thought of who Lin Qun was. However, despite this, Jiang Bin's eyes fixed. The human that the telekineticist wanted to kill must be insured to survive. At the same time, Lin Qun was sitting down in the office on the 2nd floor, leaning against the inner wall, breathing heavily. There was a constant roar around him, and Lin Qun's eyes moved. He quickly recharged 10 contribution points and activated his card drawing ability. On the edge of the life and death line, he drew cards to the extreme. The card appeared. It was name, any attribute card, type, bonus card, consumable, bonus card grade, F grade, description. Use this card to obtain 5 attribute values that can be assigned at will, which can be used to improve any attribute. Lin Qun's pupils contracted violently. This is an attribute bonus card that can directly add points to attributes. Agility, strength, constitution, energy. Choose one and directly increase the value by 5 points. Chapter 25. It's you. 5 attributes that can be freely allocated. No powerful skill card was drawn, but a brand new bonus card, which made Lin Qun disappointed for a moment. But Lin Qun quickly calmed down. Although it is not a powerful skill card, with these 5 attributes, it may not be impossible to fight back. There was a loud rumble outside, and half of the property building was almost overturned by the telekinetic master. It was like the god of death approaching step by step. There was no time to think too much. Lin Qun stood up and ran directly to the window at the end of the corridor. He wanted to jump out of the window. In the process, he quickly used this bonus card and added all 5 attributes to his physique without hesitation. On his personal panel, the physique attribute instantly jumped from 13 to 18, almost twice that of humans. And with the improvement of physique, the panel data of Lin Qun's headshot female skill changed again. This time, the upper limit of the physique of the target he could headshot reached an astonishing 36 points, far exceeding the 3 times human limit. Lin Qun didn't believe that he couldn't blow up the head of the bastion telekineticist this time. His eyes were fixed on the window at the end of the corridor in front of him. He wanted to crash out of the window directly, unexpectedly, and sniper in the air. However, at this moment, a loud noise came from one side. The wall on one side of Lin Qun's running collapsed, and an iron door twisted and deformed. Under the control of the telekineticist, it directly crashed through the wall and hit Lin Qun. The huge force came, and this blow was no lighter than the one Lin Qun had just received downstairs, and it was hit directly. Lin Qun's body went all the way back, crashed through the corridor glass of the office behind him, and fell all the way back. There were broken glass shards all over the ground. At that time, a thought flashed through Lin Qun's mind, and he felt that he must be finished. This collision would either cripple him or destroy him, and he would lose his last chance. The telekineticist was too strong. It seemed that it had observed the conditions for Lin Qun to activate his ability, and bombarded him through the wall, not giving him the opportunity to see himself at all. Lin Qun refused to give up. He instinctively supported himself, and tried to stand up. However, he found that he stood up very easily. Apart from the burning sensation, he didn't even feel any pain. He was like nothing happened. Lin Qun was stunned for a moment. He took a look at his body. He was surprised to find that none of the broken glass on the ground had caused any wounds on him. At most, his skin was red, far from bleeding. The same was true for the previous blow. He thought that with that force, it would not be surprising that his ribs were all broken, but the current situation was, his clothes were cracked. But he didn't feel anything. It was not even as serious as being hit by a scrapped car just now. Lin Qun was not stupid. He immediately realized that this might be the meaning of physique. Because compared with just now, he only had 5 more attributes. These 5 points were equivalent to half of the human limit. 18 points of physique were almost twice the human limit, which directly increased Lin Qun's ability to withstand blows. In the past, Lin Qun had always had a vague understanding of the concept of physique. He didn't know what this so-called physique meant, and what aspect of the body it represented, but now he finally understood. Physical fitness is the addition of the strength of the whole body. 18 points can withstand this collision. If it is improved further, wouldn't it be invulnerable? If so, any of these attributes, if they reach a very high level, are extremely terrifying, and they can be invincible without any special abilities. Of course, now is not the time to think about these things. While these thoughts flashed through his mind like lightning, his body had already moved in advance, took a step, and rushed out all the way. At this moment, he no longer had to rush to the window, because the wall had been smashed through by the iron door just now. That bastion telekineticist is outside. Lin Qun's figure rushed out at high speed through the smoke and dust. At that moment, he felt that the air around him was almost stagnant, but his eyes also penetrated the shadows at this moment, and fixed on the telekineticist. It did not evade. Lin Qun has entered the range of its telekinesis. Although it was surprised that it didn't cripple this human just now, it also noticed that the human military personnel under its feet were approaching. It didn't want to waste time, and wanted to use telekinesis to crush this high potential human to death. As for this human's attack, it can't kill itself at all. It's acceptable to get hurt and kill him as soon as possible. A cold light flashed in its 4 eyes, and the telekinesis was directly locked and activated. Lin Qun felt the invisible terrifying pressure, as if it was going to crush him. His eyes were congested, and his ears, nose and mouth all began to bleed. In a few seconds, even if he had 18 points of physical fitness, he would be crushed alive by this telekinesis master like a cockroach. But Lin Qun did not retreat. Instead, he strode forward, locked his eyes, activated his ability, and roared, "Go to hell." 36 points of physical fitness limit, and still can't blow your head? Let's see whether your telekinesis is activated faster, or my speed of staring at you is faster. At this time, on the ground, Jiang Bin also killed all the way. He raised his head with his gun in hand, ready to fight to the death with this telekinetic master. Jiang Bin was ready to die in battle. Because there were only a few of them, and they didn't have any good heavy weapons, fighting against this telekinetic master would be courting death. Even if they died in battle, as a soldier, they would never retreat. But what he didn't expect was that before he fired a shot, he heard Lin Qun's roar, accompanied by this muffled sound. Jiang Bin's pupils shrank instantly, because the head of that extremely powerful bastion telekinetic master suddenly exploded at that moment. Just like the bastions who were shot in the head before. Exactly the same, died on the spot. The Bastion telekinetic master could never dream that the human in front of him, who was not his opponent just now, could kill him instantly. It's a pity that he didn't have time to regret it. Lin Qun climbed back from the ghost gate and only breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that the telekinetic master was dead, and he was excited. He succeeded in killing him. The one who died was this arrogant Bastion. A prompt appeared in front of his eyes. It showed that he had killed the Bastion, and he had obtained 1 contribution point and 600 experience points. With the previous gains, he had almost reached the 1200 experience points required for his level 5 upgrade to level 6. The sum of the experience points of 12 ordinary Bastions. This telekinetic master was indeed an elite boss with high experience. The scene of Lin Qun killing the telekinetic master in seconds shocked the whole audience. It was witnessed by the nearby soldiers and Bastions. Those Bastions were terrified. Wang Deshan was also shocked and instinctively looked at Li Xing beside him. But Li Xing's eyes were fixed on the man standing at the broken edge of the property building. It was that big boss. He finally saw the big boss himself. Jiang Bin's shock was even more indescribable. He had personally faced a telekinetic master and had seen his troops being killed by a telekinetic master. Bastion telekinetic masters were extremely threatening and often required extremely strong firepower and a heavy price to strangle them. Even if the Bastion telekineticist just now was not from the Bastion military and his strength might not be very strong, but being killed so easily in an instant still made him tremble with fear. He stared at Lin Qun, who was standing in the strong wind at a high altitude, and then looked at Li Xing, who was the first to rush out, but was just a bystander. Finally he understood. It's you. You are the real master hidden in Longcheng Daijing, and you are the one who chased the Bastion airship and killed them. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.